streaming. There we go. We should be live on both. I hope. Second day I've done it. Did I mix it up? Is it ruined? No. The red thing says I'm live on YouTube. The red thing says I'm live on TikTok. Yay. This is the Oskar Quentin debate show where people call in on TikTok Live and discuss, sometimes politics, sometimes just like basic math, man. Like it's... You know how it goes. Like sometimes you get to talking to a Trump supporter and it's like, wait a minute. You don't seem to understand free speech or what, something. I don't know. We're going to discuss if being a Trump supporter makes you a traitor. That's the prompt anyway. It's kind of the topic every single day, and the prompt doesn't matter. We don't actually have to stick on the prompt. There are no rules on this show. We just see how the conversation goes. So I'm going to get the multi-guest request queue open. It's such a tongue twister that I have to say at the beginning of the show. I don't have to say it. I could just open it. I just think out loud for a moment while I'm like making sure everything's good. Is everything recording? I have to record the show in 2 different ways now. Make sure it's live streaming 2 different ways now. Make sure I have both chats visible on my screen so I can see what's going up. So I can say good morning to Joey. He says, what's up? I'm hungover because I went to a rave. I got home at 3, which is why I am unshowered and tired. But for whatever reason, in my experience, when that is the state of affairs, it's usually a good show. I don't know what it is. You'd think me not being well slept or, I haven't had breakfast today. I haven't even had my smoothie yet today. Yeah, it's, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how I handle the calls. Paige also says good morning. Mincognito says, am I in Minnesota? Yes, I am, which is why I have a Minnesota state flag and why I'm wearing a Fulton Brewing shirt. Those are some little pieces of Minnesota kitsch in my life. Ooh, I should select the stream and refresh. It says I have no current live streams. No, I do. There we go. Let's see. Do I have people watching on YouTube? I don't, but it is streaming over there. So hello to the void to my right. And hello to the 53 people who are already here on TikTok. Good morning. Oh my goodness, the chat is going crazy. Good morning, Pickles. Dad says, yo. Hey, Dad, I thought you were dead. MAGA is upsetty spaghetti already this morning. Are they? Did I miss something? I don't know. The news I've been following lately is Delaney Hall in New Jersey. I was like talking with Raven, who's one of the mods last night. They went to this rave with me. Went raving with Raven. And I was talking about how I'm really sad I'm not there. Like, I'm watching all this footage of all these people I know from the Whipple building here. A lot of people, like some of my buddies here are like, making it out there to go be on the front lines of this thing elsewhere. And I'm so proud of the people in New Jersey for fighting back in the way that they are. But I'm sitting at home, like, watching in bed, like, on my phone, like, oh my God, I should have flown to New Jersey. Anyway, travel fund? I don't know. We'll see. That, like, the show is my full-time job now, so I feel like maybe I'm in kind of a place where we can start thinking about like potentially crowdfunding bigger projects. So we'll see. Oh my God, the chat is moving faster than I can read. Let's see. Dad says, "Still here, bud." That's how I convene with my father. It's through magic and the TikTok chat. That's my country's flag in the background. It's the Minnesota state flag. Can't see the stream on YouTube. Uh-oh. Why? Am I not live on YouTube? Let's fix that. We don't have a caller yet, so it says live, and there's a button that says end stream. So that suggests to me that the YouTube stream should be working, but I also don't have any viewers on there, which is like surprising. I don't know why that is. I'm just going to end and restart it because I actually don't use the... I've decided I'm not going to be... All right, let's stop streaming. I'm not going to be using the direct live stream as the source of like the YouTube VOD. I'm still going to edit and upload it. That's just better for some back-end reasons. Oh, I need to set up a new broadcast. Oh, great. We're starting with technical difficulties. Fantastic. All right, let that refresh. We'll go to edit. That's good. We should be good to go. Yeah, okay, and then we go to manage broadcast, and then select existing broadcast, this one, and I will select broadcast and start streaming. Should be working now. I hope. I don't like wasting airtime at the beginning of the show on technical difficulties. It says live. All right, we'll see if it's working now. If I go to select stream, it shows that it's live. And then Why is it saying offline though? That's the big question. There we go. Oh, I think I know what's going on. Is it just private? Is it not set up as a public stream? Oh, goodness me. I felt so good yesterday about not having... Oh, here we go. Here's the issue. It was unlisted. All right. I have to stop it. I have to stop it again. And then I'll start it, and then it'll be working. Thanks for whoever made me aware of that. 4 minutes in. That's not so bad. All right, so let's stop streaming. Let's go back here. Let's go to edit. Let's go customization. Where is the option to make it public? I want it to be public. Stream settings. It says privacy, it says unlisted, and then it won't let me change that. Why is that? Monetization off. Redirect. I don't know. Is this an entertaining show? I'm gonna lose my viewers on TikTok while I figure out the YouTube issue. Let's see. Closed captions. I'm gonna refresh this page because I feel like the settings I need are not here. Hang tight, TikTok. Hopefully we'll be rolling in a second here. It is Sunday, so I'm hoping to have a busy show. Customization. Who can send and read messages, live chat? Yeah, everything is here. I don't know why it's locked as unlisted. That's bizarre. Closed captions. Wow, what is going on with this? This is very frustrating. Sorry for everybody watching on TikTok waiting for me to figure this out. But I don't... Oh, here we go. Visibility. Found it. That was not a technical difficulty. That was an Oskar difficulty. A PEBCAC error, as it was once referred to. Problem exists between keyboard and chair. Okay, so that's public. Now if I go over here, I should be able to go... yes. Stopping stream. Manage broadcast. Select existing broadcast. This one, which is now public. And start streaming. Now, it's actually not that big a deal. I know the chat's telling me not to stress out. It's actually not that big a deal if like the first few minutes of the show have a little bit of troubleshooting, because there's always a few minutes at the beginning of the show where I'm waiting for a caller anyway, and I find that putting that timestamp in the YouTube VOD comment, which says, hey, calls start at such and such time, the analytics give me a watch time graph for the show, and people do click that link, so they won't see this part. They will just skip it. It says offline. Ah, there we go. Chat's lighting up on there right away. All right, sorry everybody for ignoring the chat on TikTok for a little while, but we still don't have anybody in the guest request queue, and we've got 157 people watching, which for 8 minutes on a Sunday is actually a little bit low, but that makes sense because we've been sitting here watching me troubleshoot for a while. But we are live on YouTube. Hello Vic, hello Milk Girl, one of our mods. W in the chat for mods. The mods are now doing double duty. We have 2 chats to mind. So I had to go hop in the Discord the other day and say, hey, you know, if you're available, can we also do the YouTube chat? We got PhD Free on the line. How old are you?
So man, 23.
23. Do you support Trump?
Yeah, definitely.
Why is that?
Like what specific or like? To be honest, a lot of reasons, kind of vague, but
okay. I mean, you know, I don't know what you mean by vague, because you can have lots of reasons, but I don't think they should be vague. I think he should be impeached for not following the Constitution. That's my position.
Well, I guess can I just respond to your first question? Then I guess why do I support him in the first place?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you're like up to date on this stuff, but I guess as far as like tax reforms, tax cuts, and border security enforcement, and diplomacies from the Middle East.
Okay, I imagine we're going to disagree on any of those things. which is why I always tend to start the calls when I get asked, like, what I think. I say that thing about the Constitution because my issue with all three of those topics is that he's not doing those things in a way that's constitutional, except for the taxation thing. I don't think he's violating the Constitution in that domain. I don't like what he's doing with tax policy, but I just think it's a very big deal if the president is ignoring the Constitution. Do you agree?
I think it would be a big deal, but I don't think it'd be any different from anybody else.
You don't think that? Are you giving the every president violates the Constitution?
Well, I'm given that free to hold one to a specific point. You should also hold those others in a specific point. To that point, you can't actually differentiate them.
Hold them to a specific point. What does that set? What does that sentence mean?
Criteria. So if you're going to hold someone to the criteria to establish the laws, that from as far as breaking the laws, and that's how you're going to ridicule or criticize your opinion, then I think you should hold that for everybody.
I do. Yeah, the problem is that if anybody else did the flagrantly illegal and unconstitutional things that Trump is doing, they'd go to prison. If Joe Biden had done those things, he would have been impeached and gone to prison. It's ridiculous to suggest that this is like a U.S. president problem. It's not. It's a Trump problem. I'm willing to discuss that. I'm willing to talk about examples.
I mean, yeah, do you have something specific?
I think that during the last few presidents that we've had, other than Trump, so I'm talking about Biden, Bush, Obama, we can go back as far as Clinton, each one of them had some serious big blunders that, legal scholars can look back and say this was a big misstep. Biden shouldn't have tried to forgive student loans with the executive order. That's the wrong tool for that job. The Supreme Court ruled on it, so they curbed him on that. That's fine. You have stuff that people on the left were really critical of with Obama, like using drone strikes in a way that caused too many civilian casualties, stuff like that. So you can find these big examples where it's oh yeah, in 4 or 8 years, one major gigantic fuck up of the sort that Trump does once or twice, sometimes more times than that, every fucking week. We have a problem where the biggest scandal that people still talk about, sometimes decades later, isn't as a nothing burger in the Trump administration because he has normalized the public to expect him to do Watergate level scandals all the fucking time. So I think that if you're going to say that what's going on with Trump is not unique to him, it's absurd. We're talking, there's somebody who said that we should fire a guy for stealing a TV, even if he does it once, if he's the manager of the TV store, right? That was an analogy that somebody gave me, and I said, right, we're talking about the previous manager of the TV store who stole one TV versus the current manager of the TV store who steals 2 or 3 TVs a week. You see the problem?
Yeah, do you have something specific that you want to critique?
Do you want me to start listing examples of ways that Donald Trump has violated his oath of office to defend and uphold the Constitution?
Well, yeah, you can start with one, sure.
Executive Order 14160, where he quoted the 14th Amendment and said that the interpretation of it offered by the Supreme Court is wrong.
You said his interpretation?
The Supreme Court has offered an interpretation of the 14th Amendment because the 14th Amendment doesn't have specific language about the groups of people that are considered in those who are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. I would argue such specific language isn't needed because it's pretty clear that it's anybody in the country other than foreign diplomats and an invading army. If you're not a member of those two groups, if you have a child here, no matter who you are, where you're from, what your nationality is, none of that matters. If you have a child here, that child is a citizen. The amendment was originally written in consideration of the children of slaves, but it was written in a vague way that protects that right for everybody. And the Supreme Court has specifically ruled that everybody includes undocumented immigrants. Trump said that in Executive Order 14160 that it doesn't. He's going directly against the Constitution, directly against the existing Supreme Court opinion on the matter. That's fucking unconstitutional. That is a violation of his oath of office. That is an overreach of his authority as seat of the executive branch. And it is the sort of thing that is so obviously and flagrantly those things I just listed that any president that does something like that should be impeached. Because what Biden did with the student loans doesn't say anything about student loans in the Constitution. There is a little bit of wiggle room in interpreting it, and he got it wrong. But this is different. This is him saying, look at this part of the Constitution I don't like. Fuck that part of the Constitution. We just can't have a president doing that.
So can you so real quick, so for that specific thing, did he violate it though?
Yes.
Because because the Supreme Courts they what's it called? How do you say it? They blocked it. So how and where did he violate?
My problem is that he violated it by making the order. When here, I'll give you an example. What if Trump made an executive order that said that the First Amendment no longer applies to trans people? Right? Like if he just said this First Amendment doesn't apply to anybody who identifies as a different gender than their biological sex. Could you imagine him doing that?
Probably. Yeah.
I'm not asking if you think he will do it. I'm asking if your imagination works.
Yeah, I said sure.
Okay.
I could imagine it, yeah, but I don't think, yeah.
Right,
but
right.
regardless,
And the Supreme Court would shoot that down probably because it's so obviously unconstitutional. What I'm saying is that it's so very unconstitutional, so obviously not cool. It's not some, like intricate, nuanced legal thing. He literally is just overturning the First Amendment for a particular group of people that he doesn't like. That sort of thing is so obviously unconstitutional that the Supreme Court shooting it down is not a measured response. A measured response is impeachment because it's so obviously unconstitutional. And do you see how that would maybe be reasonable if he did that with the First Amendment?
No, man, it makes sense. No, all I was saying is when I asked, you claimed you had evidence of him violating the Constitution. You gave me something that was his intention to violate it, yet it didn't go through. So he still wouldn't have violated it. Do you have something else, maybe?
No, I'm not willing to let you hand wave that away because if the president tried to...
He didn't violate it, bro.
Yes, he did.
He did.
Oh, it was only attempted treason?
Well, that wouldn't be treason. Yeah, for the sake of security, I think it was more than definitely plotted.
Ah, there it was. That's why you're not interested in my analogy, because you can see that it's so obviously ridiculous to take the First Amendment away from trans people that you don't like that example. When the example the real world example we were talking about, it's the same thing. He's taking an amendment right away from a group of people. It just happens to be that in reality, he's taking an amendment right away from a group of people that you don't want to have that amendment right. Sounds like you don't want.
Okay. Do you think rights are inherited, or do you think they're given?
Sorry, the TikTok chat is telling me there's an audio problem, but I think that might just be Luigi. Somebody else in the TikTok chat, tell me if there's an audio problem. I'm sorry. State your question again.
Yeah, do you believe that the rights that you're talking about, are those inherited rights, or are they given?
Inherited or given? What you mean? Are you asking if I got them from my parents?
Yeah. So, for example, when you speak of these rights, do you believe that they're just intrinsically inherited once we're born? We have these rights, or do you think that
the particular right that we're talking about, which is birthright citizenship, is a right that you get when you're born? It doesn't have anything to do with who your parents are. That's the whole point. Unless they're foreign diplomats or invading soldiers.
Now, mass. Like, are you going to deny that people are taking advantage of this?
I am going to deny that, yes.
So you don't believe people are taking advantage of birthright citizenship by crossing illegally and then
the fact of the matter is that using a right that you have is not taking advantage of your rights. That's just living. That's just living. That's just being a person. Yeah.
So you don't think people are
because a person who is born here becomes a citizen. That doesn't mean that we give anything to their parents. That doesn't mean that their parents become citizens. That doesn't mean that we forgive them for the misdemeanor of illegal entry. That's a whole separate matter. The fact of the matter is that a new person who's born here, according to the Constitution, according to the Supreme Court, is an American.
So you don't think? So I acknowledge that it's a right, sure. But I'm asking. So you're not. So
you acknowledge that Donald Trump is trying to take people's constitutional amendment rights away by executive order.
I can acknowledge that he's trying to change the law. Yes.
He's trying to change the Constitution, which is the Supreme Court's job. He's trying to change the interpretation of the Constitution, which is the Supreme Court's job. You just said he's changing the law. That still wouldn't be his job because the president doesn't change the law. Congress does. So again...
First of all, regardless, the intent of it, this is what we're arguing, because mind you, they get blocked, so we're arguing the intent. If the intent is to sustain the most... I would say the most harmonious thing, which would be applying the law. I think that people are taking advantage of it. Just like, for example,
No, this isn't a conversation about whether or not you like the 14th Amendment or think people are taking advantage of it. This is a conversation about whether or not the president is allowed to overturn rights that exist in the Constitution.
Well, I think
I don't care. For the sake of this conversation, it's a pivot over to the topic of immigration if you want to actually start talking about your feelings about the 14th Amendment. But the only thing we could do to get rid of it is to have Congress, the legislative branch, pass another amendment that then gets rid of the 14th Amendment. We've done that with certain amendments. There's I forget which one. There's one or two pairs of amendments that cancel each other out. But what I'm saying is it's not the president's job, so I don't care what your opinions about the particular thing he's trying to change are. We could talk about that separately, but the topic is that the president can't fucking do that.
Well, you're right, he can't, which is why he put a bill on it to get passed or denied by Congress.
That's not how it works. You are making up that is the process for adding an amendment to the Constitution when it simply isn't.
Okay, well, one second. So there is steps that he can do to try to assert something, and then he has to get voted on, correct?
There's nothing to vote on with an executive order. That's not how that works.
Do you mean the steps for an executive order?
No, there's no voting involved with the executive orders. There's lots of voting involved with getting an amendment passed to the Constitution. There's some voting that happens in the Supreme Court if a decision is made. That's not the process he was using. He was trying to do it some other way than it says to do in the Constitution.
Okay, but regardless, it didn't happen, so you're just arguing on the what-if situation.
Your Honor, my client can't go to jail for murder. The person he tried to murder is still alive. How silly is that?
Well, sure, but in this case, there wouldn't be contingent at all. That's a horrible analogy.
This is a pretty contentious conversation that we're having. I disagree. There's lots of contention about it. You can still go to prison for attempted murder, right?
Sure.
Okay, then stop telling me that he attempted to overthrow the Constitution and failed. I'm not fucking impressed that the system in some other way worked.
No.
The problem is that he does this once or twice a week, dude.
No. What you're doing is I think you kind of burden shifted. You're supposed to make an argument for why it's wrong for him to do what he did. Even I can acknowledge that he did it, sure, but you still haven't made an argument for why it would be wrong, or it's the case that it's wrong for what he did.
Quoting the Constitution and saying, I don't like this part of the Constitution, I want it to be interpreted a different way in an executive order, regardless of which part of the Constitution it is, in my opinion, an impeachable offense. Any president who does anything like that needs to be removed from office.
So why hasn't he then?
Because the system is broke. Specifically, the reason he hasn't been impeached is because there's a majority in the legislative branch that supports him, that are loyal to him instead of the Constitution. They are also traitors. We have a big emergency going on where Trump gets to do all of these unconstitutional things, which, by the way, you're moving the goalpost away from did he do something.
Really not. You just couldn't defend your position.
You are moving the goalpost away from did he do an impeachable offense to why hasn't he been impeached, which has an answer that I just gave you, that we have a majority of Republicans in the legislative branch that are loyal to him instead of the Constitution, which is an extension of exactly the same problem in the Republican Party right now. So again, the question, did he do something that is worthy of impeachment, is a different question than is the legislative branch doing their job properly. So yes, you are moving the goalpost to something else.
Not necessarily. In my defense, you kind of burden shifted, because I told you specifically people are taking advantage of a right, and you're saying, well, it doesn't matter if they're taking advantage of the right. This right is established, therefore the intent.
You are allowed to take advantage of your rights. You understand that, right? Yes. Really? What the fuck do you think they're for?
So watch this. So would you ever put a limit on the amount of things people do with their rights?
If I wanted to, the way that I would achieve that is by writing my congressperson and getting them to push an amendment to the Constitution. You can't just elect a president who's going to disobey the Constitution if you don't like what's in it.
Okay, so if a lot of if multiple people across the country, across the world, are coming into your country illegally, and they're intentionally making families when they're here, because they know once they have a family, they can get brought over due to the fact that the kids and now have birthright citizenship. If they're taking advantage of this, you don't think it's
I don't think that is taking advantage of it. That's just how it's supposed to work. Yes, so please come here and start hardworking families who are going to benefit the economy. Let them come to our schools. Absolutely.
Brother, did you hear what you just said? They're supposed to come here legally, and then we're supposed to give them Medicaid and pay for other shit. That's what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I said is that a person who's born here is an American. We don't give those things to their parents. Nobody gets you don't suddenly become a citizen if you have a child here. Your child becomes a citizen here. What are you not understanding about that?
Sure, but you're I acknowledge it, but you're not understanding that what Trump was doing was an attempt It was an attempt. Most definitely. I can acknowledge that it's
you're shifting the burden
sure.
away from the question of whether or not the president is allowed to levy his interpretation of the Constitution by executive order back to, again, what I said we need to put aside, which is, do you want the 14th Amendment to be overturned? If you do, we can have that terrible, awful conversation, but it's not one that's going to involve the president, because it just isn't the president's job to be involved in that at all.
Okay, well, for you to say that it's not the president's job to not be involved in anything that's changing the Constitution, that's just going to be a tracking on your end, dude. And second,
that's going to be wait, no. Say what you just said again. That's just going to be a what?
President's job. You just said it's not the president's job to be involved at all in something that involves the rights or this Constitution, correct?
Changing the Constitution? Yeah, the executive branch stays the fuck out of that. Absolutely. What did you say about it?
That's not what I said. You said word for word, it's not his business. That's what you said.
It's not his job. He doesn't have the authority. It's against the rules for him to do it.
So you don't think it's the president's job, the one that's supposed to maintain harmonious and the positive utility of the country? You don't think it's his job?
That's a different sentence. That's a different pile of word salad than changing the Constitution. One of the things
you're just dodging it.
No, I'm not dodging it. I'm addressing directly the fact that to protect the harmony of the country, or whatever you just said, we have rules, and one of the rules is that the president can't do whatever they want, because if your president can do whatever they want, that's not a president, that's a dictator. And one of the ways that we check their power is to say, that Constitution, you can't change that, because we don't want one person to be able to change the Constitution. That's very bad. That's how you get tyranny. So the president just isn't allowed. Like you can say that go live in a dictatorship if you want the president to be in charge of what your rights are.
I understand what you're saying, but what would be the metric? For example, you can at least, you don't have to agree, but you can look at the statistics show that many people are coming here illegally and they're procreating, starting a family.
I'm not. Stop that. No. You just keep moving over to how you feel about the 14th Amendment, but that just isn't the conversation. The conversation is it okay for the president to try to change the Constitution? Why do you not? You need to separate these topics, because
I already said yes. You're just ignoring it.
Right. Then why do you keep coming back to, are there so many people coming and having anchor babies? Listen, why do you keep asking that? Because if we want to have a conversation about there being too many anchor babies, we could have that conversation and talk about Congress changing the Constitution. That's just not the topic right now.
Okay, so let me tell you why. Let me tell you what, I disagree with you, right? You don't think he should. That's fine. I disagree. That's why I'm up in my position. Now, what I'm doing is, since I disagree, I'm giving you an argument that's contingent on my opinion. It's predicated on the topic.
My argument is that your opinion doesn't matter, because we're not talking about our opinion about the 14th Amendment. We're talking about the president changing any amendment. Welcome, Law of the Wild, to the call. He's a lawyer, so maybe he'll do a better job of handling you than I am. Excuse me. Hey, dude, show my audience that you have manners. I just welcomed another person to the call, and you ignored it and went back to what you were saying. Do you have social skills? What are you doing?
Sure.
Hello, Law of the Wild. Maybe he doesn't know he's connected. Law of the Wild, are you there?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was on mute.
No worries.
Hey, PhD, what is the job of the executive branch?
You said what, buddy?
What is the job of the executive branch?
Well, it's not really one specific thing, but it's multiple things.
So when it comes, it's kind of in the word, is that they're charged with executing the laws, so they enforce the laws. Are you familiar with the take care clause?
Clause?
Yeah, it's in the Constitution, Article 2, Section 3.
No, I think so, no.
Yeah, it lays out the duties of the president. One of those duties is to take care that the laws of the United States are faithfully executed.
Okay.
So changing the laws, that comes from the legislative branch. And now the president can certainly advocate to the legislative branch that he wants the laws changed, but his duty is to execute the laws of the land. And the laws of the land, if they're challenged, are interpreted by the Supreme Court. He doesn't have the authority to go and write an executive order to challenge a Supreme Court interpretation. That's not taking care and making sure that the laws of the United States are faithfully executed.
Okay, okay.
So I guess what's your argument that what he was doing by writing an executive order attempting to overturn Supreme Court interpretation is a proper execution of his duties?
No, I mean, I'm not denying, I'm not ignoring what you're saying. I understand that.
You ignored it when I said it, and then went back to your feelings about the 14th Amendment.
No, I didn't ignore what you said. What I did is I disagreed under the circumstances or criteria one can.
Do you disagree? Do you disagree with what Law of the Wild just said about what the president's job and limits of his authority is?
Well, I can't disagree on something that's legislative. I mean, that's just going to be the case. But
that's all you're doing in this call is disagreeing with what the law is.
Well, you yourself already said that all of his people are not following the law, correct?
We're talking about what the president has done and whether or not he should be impeached for it. I said that he would have been impeached for it if there weren't also traitors in the legislative branch. That is an additional component of the problem in America right now.
Okay, so if the case is that he should have been impeached, but he's not going to because there's traitors, then what's your point of being on here?
To secure the midterms, to get people to turn out for the vote so that we can get him impeached. Because the people, the voters, are very unhappy about what's going on. Trump has lost so much favor. Okay. If the midterms are free and fair, he'll immediately be impeached. And me sitting here and talking to you is showing so many people that I'm right and you're wrong because you're making no fucking sense. And I'm playing fucking whack-a-mole between your feelings and what the actual law is. I have a lawyer here sitting here telling me that I'm right. You look like a complete fucking jackass. And so many people watch these videos of me making people like you look like a jackass that it's going to get them to turn out and vote. Because somebody's going to think, oh my God, I can cancel that guy's vote out if I show up to the polls. Thank you, everybody. Go vote.
I mean, no one, first of all, I never once disagreed with the legislative side. For the fifth time, I disagreed, and then I gave you an argument that's predicated on the disagreement. I acknowledge what the law says. I acknowledge that what you're saying isn't, he's not following or advocating based off of the words. But once again, if you're going to argue like what he's supposed to do, I think the safety of the people is top priority. And if some people are getting hurt, like in their feelings, like sounds like you are, like for example, your background, this looks very emotional. I think that's a prime example how it's actually you're the one.
I love it. I love it when the guest is so cornered that they just accuse me of crashing out while I sit here calmly and pet my cat.
Brother, you just call me using ad homs and rhetorical statements to try to act as if
I described your behavior. I described what happens on this show. I think what I said is accurate.
Emotion, I did.
Okay, are you just going to pivot to the fact that I am an adult and I can use the fuck word because I'm fucking 30 years old and I'm upset about what's going on? Boo fucking who, dude? Get some baby bottles in the chat for our guest. He's upset that I used a curse word. And he's not upset that the president is violating the Constitution. He's a fucking traitor for having that set of priorities.
I think, you can call him a traitor, but can you name a time when America was safer? Name me one time when America was safer.
January 20th, 2025.
Okay, who was president?
Joe Biden.
Okay, what did he do that was different?
He listened to the Constitution.
Okay, what did he do that was different that made it safer?
He followed the Constitution because the Constitution keeps us safe.
What about it? What about it made you safer? Let's look at the statistics. Let's look at the crime rate. Let's look at the legal deportations.
No. So you don't think that the Constitution is important?
It's hard to say. I think it changes too much.
Oh, it's hard to say. That's really similar to what Trump said when he was asked by a reporter directly if the Constitution was important when he was talking about due process for all the illegal immigrants that he needs to deport. He went, I don't know. I don't know if the Constitution is important. Do you want to watch video of that? I don't think you need to because you share the same opinion that you don't know if the Constitution is important. If you don't know that the Constitution is important, you are a traitor.
Well, I'm asking this. If the Constitution is so important that we have to abide by it, but at the same time, abiding by it is taken away from your country, which one's the more rational decision?
You are just calling listening to the Constitution taking away from your country. And the prompt for today is that supporting Trump is traitorous, treasonous.
Wait, do you deny that supporting millions of illegal citizens, Medicaid and food stamps is taken away from the country? Do you deny this? This is simple math.
From the federal government? That doesn't happen.
Yeah, really? That's made up, dude. It's misinformation.
That's not true. All right, 1 second. Hold on. That's not true? All right, hold on. Well, if it's not true, then let's look at the numbers.
They have a net beneficial effect on the finances of the country for two reasons. One of them is that they disproportionately pay into the tax system because they're not available. The most expensive things that we do with our taxes are not available to illegal immigrants. Things like Medicare and Social Security and that sort of food stamps. We don't let them have those programs because you need a Social Security number to get those programs. But the IRS does let them pay taxes.
That's also not true.
Are you going to tell me that illegal immigrants are getting SNAP benefits? It's fucking ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, have you seen
making shit up? We couldn't possibly feed some hungry people. How fucking horrible that would be. But again, we're not. They're not eligible for SNAP benefits. It's wrong.
Hold on. So if you don't mind, I can pull up the real statistics to show you the exact.
I'm not interested in looking at your bullshit. Like, you can send me a link and we can put it on the screen for a moment. But the fact of the matter is that we're down all these random little rabbit holes.
So you don't
about
care
all this
about statistics at all.
The bigger problem is that you don't care about the Constitution. That's the topic. Why are we talking about these random little things?
I think if the Constitution was so correct, then we wouldn't have to be in this position in the first place to argue about it. Which obviously shows you are
never mind the executive order. You are calling into my show and offering a better interpretation of the Constitution for America's sake. Is that what's happening?
No, I think that we've evolved to a point that it needs to be re-critiqued for sure.
Okay, so again, you're not a patriot. You don't believe in the rule of law in this country. Like, this is.
I'm a pacifist. Well, I'm a pacifist in my defense. So I think multiple things need to be re-critiqued. But you're still dodging.
If you're a pacifist, you should be very worried about living in a country where the Constitution isn't being followed.
Well, no, I think if I'm a pacifist, I should be more worried if the Constitution isn't predicated on the positive or well-being of my society, which is what is happening.
It's a very, very powerful thing you're doing by just saying that your interpretation of this entire conversation we had is one that comes from protecting America, when the truth is that America was designed to protect the people who live here from fucking tyranny, and the very basic rules that protect us from tyranny are being violated, and you're upset that some people that you've never met might be getting fed or something. Like, what the fuck? Why are your priorities so out of order?
Whoa, that's so crazy. So quick,
it's not crazy. I will continue to assert that your priorities are out of order.
Do you want to take a guess how much we spent on illegal immigrants just last year? Do you want to take a guess?
Far less than they bring us in tax money and economic prosperity.
Okay, well, if you want to go over the GDP, if you want to go over the GDP, which you can, I think it was actually, I still have the number put up. But if just last year there was between 150 and 180 billion. That's just off of that's just an estimate off of net annual fund.
No. The Cato Institute, which is right-leaning, has a really comprehensive document on this. It looks like this. You can go find it. It's called Immigrants' Recent Effects on Government Budgets, studied 1994 to 2023. This was published on February 3rd of 2026 this year from a right-leaning organization that is too good at math to sit here and lie to you about the effects of illegal immigrants on the government budget.
I said last year, not 2023, nor 1960, so that's just not going to be contingent on my statement at all.
So you're gonna say that it was so bad during the Trump administration that this 30 years of data is not interesting to you?
No, what I'm saying is we need to put the people first, and then while you guys are trying to pretend to be moral cards over there, that can be worried about after we got
you keep doing these big things where you hand wave away our entire positions. You say that we're pretending. What am I pretending about?
Well, sir, in my defense, I just quoted you a last year's statistic. You didn't give a rat's ass about. You put up 3 years. 3 years statistic data, which no one gives a shit about. Trump wasn't even president. I'm confused why that's contingent on my statement at all.
Okay, what's your evidence from last year that legal immigrants are in some way expensive? What are the numbers? Let's hear them.
Are you claiming they're not?
I am claiming that they have a net financial benefit to the country. If you tell me that they cost $80 billion, I will tell you that they pay $100 to $200 billion in taxes every year.
Oh, really? So if they're paying, that's the most contrary thing. So quick question. If someone is getting paid under the table with cash, and they're paying for other finances with cash, how are they paying taxes?
Because the IRS literally does not care about catching illegal immigrants. They're so much more concerned with collecting tax revenue that they just allow the illegal immigrants to pay taxes with an ITIN.
Exactly.
Instead of a social security number.
Repeat what you just said. The IRS is what? They don't care about what?
They don't care about catching illegal immigrants. They care about collecting taxes, so they collect taxes from illegal immigrants.
So, do you not think that's a problem?
No, I just don't. They can take their money. You're saying that they're your argument.
Wow.
Hey, pay attention. I'm going to remind you that we're at a part of the conversation where you're saying that they're a financial drain on the country, and I'm just pointing out that they literally aren't, because we collect more taxes from them than we spend in social programs on them. So if the negative number has a smaller absolute value than the positive number, then the benefit is a positive one. So if you want to talk about your point that they're expensive by a negative number. They're beneficial to the country. Stop moving on to other stuff. You don't have to like it for it to be true. Like, the fact that they're beneficial to the country clearly upsets you, but it is the fact of the matter.
Okay, so that's fine. So if you're going to claim that they benefit more than they're a burden, Are you going to claim that this is what's equating you to?
I'm going to take a moment to read Vic's super chat because he pointed out the Cato Institute said that the benefit in 2023 alone was 1.3 trillion because that longitudinal study shows that the benefit is enormous. So even if they were wildly expensive in 2025 for some reason, which would be hilarious because that's while Trump was president, you'd still be wrong. Thank you, Vic, for the $3. I appreciate you.
So I don't think you're listening. So technically, if you want to be technical, they put, I think it was 90 to 100 billion a year. As far as taxes goes, that's a lot of money. Don't you agree?
I'm just capable of looking at big numbers, and if a different number that's in the same equation is also really big, it might cancel it out. Like, I'm not impressed by there being a lot of zeros. There's lots of illegal immigrants. There's lots of Americans. These are big numbers. Okay. You have to be able to comprehend big numbers to have reasonable discussions about these things. So when you say, oh my God, 80 to 100 billion dollars, no, that's not actually all that expensive against the federal budget. Like, there are groups of people that pay large amounts of taxes. Yeah, you're so impressed by how many zeros that number is that you're not able to see reason, dude. Like, it's less than the amount that they pay in taxes. How is that not important to you if your argument is that they're expensive?
Okay, well, for starters, let's just do some basic math. So since you clearly don't understand how ratio or percentages work. So there's about 8 billion people in the entire fucking world. Okay, So we're spending about 8. This isn't even correct. This is kind of outdated, but we'll just go with this rough estimate. I'm
just going to point out that you were very, very mad about the Cato Institute ending their study in 2023, and you considered that outdated, but you're about to give me some outdated data that supports your argument. Let's hear it.
Because you didn't acknowledge my most recent data, remember? You wanted to pivot to your outdated shit. So
I directly asked you for your recent data. You gave it to me, and I pointed out why it's... Yeah, and you're ignoring the tax benefit of illegal immigrants.
Want me to give it to you again?
Okay.
Okay, watch. So let's say, what do you care where it's from? Are you going to, like, cherry pick which...
It matters where it's from, yeah. I mean, there's so many. I mean, I don't have a list of good sources. There's too many to just say these are the sources I trust. So, like, it depends on where it comes from. But again, even if it's accurate, the reason I didn't bother fact-checking the data you brought me is because in consideration of the taxes they pay, that sounds like a good number. They are less expensive than they benefit us with tax money.
Okay, so yeah, I don't think you get it. So 90 to 100 billion dollars.
Okay, number again.
There's 8 billion people in the world. Okay, can you take a guess how much money that is per person?
What?
Why are you asking this question?
Because if you were to take into account everyone's life insurance policies and you were to put them together, right, and then just look at the derivative average off of the amount of money that
what is it? I understand calculus too well to let you get away with the line derivative average. What is a derivative average if you want to talk about math?
The amount of change over given time to measure the median slope change, which would be in this case 2023 to 2025.
Okay. Why are we talking about life insurance? I'm lost, dude.
Well, I'm just giving you an example. This is going to be a really quick example. So per person, if you want to do per capita of illegal immigrants, the amount of money we're spending on them, given in reference to just the American people, it's by definition outstanding, which means that people are coming in here not just illegally, but now they're creating babies.
Dude, this is like conspiracy theory nonsense. You're trying to interpret insurance data in a way that suggests that illegal immigrants are being a drain. That's law of the wild. Please step in if I'm missing this. Do you understand what he's trying to say? Excuse me, Pete. Excuse me, guest. I asked our other host a question.
Well, that's just appealing to your friend.
Dude, I'm just asking if he understands what you're saying, and I'm allowed to ask my co-host a question. Right, by the way, I'm going to thank Jeremy, who paid me $2 on YouTube Super Chat to be nicer to you. He says, I love your work, but be nicer to the ignorant folks. I'm actually not going to be nice to this guy because I don't actually think that he's that ignorant. I think he's willfully ignorant. I think he understands the things I'm saying. He just doesn't care because he's bigoted against immigrants. So law of the wild, please. Am I interpreting the guest's position?
Well, I'm very curious, like, why the population of the world is coming into this equation, as is life insurance. But first, did he give us a source for his expenses? Because I'm pretty sure that either comes from FAIR or CIS, which is problematic in their analysis.
Well, it depends. There's a bunch. I have a couple different ones. I have the Yale, I have ITEP, I have, let's see here. I got Cato Institute. I don't know if you care about that.
Courtney paid me $5 on YouTube Super Chat just to point out to you that you're conflating GDP and government spending, which government spending.
No, that's not true. No, there's a very fine difference. No, that's
government spending is included in GDP, so that's
but government spending is it's an average on legal. That's not specific on illegal. It has nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
Dude, Law of the Wild, you're literally a lawyer. Am I right in accusing the guest of just using legalese every time he's not sure about what he's saying?
Legalese? Bro, you don't even know. Bro,
I didn't ask you. I asked Law of the Wild. He's a lawyer. I'm checking with the lawyer who's present, like if the language you're using is appropriate for what you're talking about.
Your lawyer that's on TikTok 11 in the morning. All right, bro.
On a Sunday?
Yeah.
What courts are open on Sunday? Oh, never mind.
It just points to the fact that you don't actually have a life, bro. It was a rhetorical statement, bro.
We're on a live show that like 500 people are watching. I guess we don't have a life. Whatever, dude. Law of the Wild, can you let Law of the Wild answer my question about the way that you're using legal language? Because I find it to be careless, the way that you're applying legal language to your opinions about these things.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it all started with the abusing of rights, as if like invoking your right to remain silent is taking advantage of that right instead of just using it. No, but there's a lot of terms being flown around, and he's gish-galloping quite a bit to where we're not able to nail down a particular point.
Yeah, which, I mean, we're still just stuck on the fact that he doesn't want illegal immigrants to have the rights that they do. We have just abandoned the original topic, which is that the president is violating the fucking Constitution. He's sitting here talking about how much tax money they bring in or how much they use in social programs. It's like, none of that shit matters, dude. Like you are incapable of divorcing your feelings about his opinion on the Constitution from the fact that it is not his job to levy his opinion on the Constitution by executive order. Doesn't matter what the opinion is. Even if he's fixing something that's catastrophically wrong with the Constitution, because there are a couple things I think are wrong with the Constitution. But if Joe Biden made an executive order about them, I'd say we need to impeach this old fuck because he's breaking the rules.
Well, and unironically, he's proving your sign right, because his essential argument is, yeah, the Constitution is the Constitution, but we can abandon it if we have a good reason to.
Yep, he literally said he put that in a nutshell pretty earlier. Michael agrees on Cash App. He sent me $2 just to say W host, the right can't debate. But yeah, I got the soundbite of him basically saying it's okay to violate the Constitution if the reason you're violating it is for safety or whatever. According to who is always the question. According to whom is it safer to violate the Constitution in the ways that Donald Trump was? If the answer is Trump himself, then there's the fucking problem. There's the issue with yeah, anyway, you get it.
If you disagree with someone being allowed to violate their constitutional rights in order to sustain utility, then I think that's going to be a morale question that you've been dodging for the fifth time.
I answered it directly the first time you said it, where I said that it is a greater concern for safety. You're interrupting me while I'm trying to answer it again.
Because I wasn't done talking.
You were
so how am I interrupting you?
You were. I'm allowed to interrupt you. It's my show, and you were accusing me. Yeah, on the show, I am the dictator.
You're allowed to be a dictator, but we're not allowed to have a president as a dictator. That makes sense.
You're not stuck in my show. You can leave. You're stuck in the country, so it's different, dude. You don't. It's disingenuous to sit and say that I don't have a.
I'm not stuck.
It's disingenuous for you to be upset that I have authority over how my own fucking show is run. That's ridiculous. People recognize the difference. And I interrupted you because you were accusing me of dodging a question 5 times, which I did answer and will answer again now. What was that question? I forgot because you distracted me again.
Yeah, the question was what was your argument for violating the Constitution in order to sustain the positive utility of your country?
Oh, yeah. My specific answer is that the positive utility of the president obeying the Constitution is significantly greater than any positive utility that I see for the president levying his opinion about any particular one amendment right. That's the problem. That's fundamentally the issue. That's not a presupposition.
That's a presupposition. Now you're going to have to make an argument to make a contract.
I think that the entire Constitution as a whole is more important than the 14th Amendment. Do you agree?
Well, if you want to take into account of the people who are getting alive,
the question.
Drugs, narcotics.
Answer the question. Is the whole Constitution, the entire thing, the whole shebang, is it more important than just the 14th Amendment?
Depends how many people are getting hurt from the Constitution. It depends.
Right, and what I'm saying is that the country, the reason we don't live in a literal kingdom, a dictatorship of some kind, is because of the Constitution. And the utility of that fact is so much greater to society than whatever these fucking nonsense concern you have about some people who don't have their paperwork straight, who but are literally working, commit fewer crimes than the average other person walking down the street, and fucking pay taxes. You're not making any good argument for the 14th Amendment allowing behavior that it poses a real existential threat to Americans, whereas the president not following the Constitution poses a real existential threat to Americans, because what is to stop him from violating your First, Second, Fourth, Fifth, 14th Amendment rights, as we have seen him do in my neighborhood because I live in Minneapolis? Those are my constitutional rights that have been violated by Trump.
Okay, well, again, that's why I told you this is going to be a morale question, because you're gonna whatever you choose, whether it's the positive utility of the president sustaining the Constitution, or the positive utility of the president sustaining positive, harmonious.
You just keep regurgitating this word salad, where you're saying that it's so bent. You keep talking about positive utility,
dude. Very complicated.
I have armor for Philbros, dude. Like, I know the fucking terms. I've studied the philosophy. I'm accusing you of being a Philbro because you're just regurgitating the phrase positive utility every time I say something that demonstrates that your perspective on positive utility is bad. You want to talk about Kantian utilitarianism or something like that? Like, go to a circle jerk Philbro debate where you guys smell each other's farts about ideas from the 20th century. We're talking about the president violating the Constitution, and you are bringing up these arbitrary philosophical labels for these things instead of actually addressing the meat and potatoes of what I'm talking about. Get it together, dude. You're gonna get kicked by the chat very soon. I promise.
Dude, I'll give you another example just to show you how important, how complicated this is. Right, the ability Roe versus Wade. That there's a difference between rights and privileges. For example, do you think that people are able to take advantage of the right to have an abortion? Do you think it's such thing someone can take advantage of this right?
I don't think anybody goes, you know what, I actually want to do this thing, but thank goodness I have the right to abortion, therefore I can get away with it, which is what taking advantage of it would mean in my mind. No, I don't think people are like, I'm going to go do this thing that apparently the guest is concerned about for some reason, but it's okay for me to do it because I get to have an abortion. That's ridiculous. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, the definition, to take advantage would be doing something that benefits you by taking something from someone else. So that's the definition of taking advantage.
Right. And we disagree about whether, and where we disagree about abortion is going to be that I don't believe there is somebody else that you're taking rights away from, and you do. You respect the rights of the fetus. I don't. That's a separate conversation. We could talk about that, but that is the difference between abortion rights and everything else that we talk about.
No, you're debating pragmatic shit. I don't care. It's the principle. I'm telling you, is it possible for someone to take advantage of the rights for legal people coming in, making babies that are not, should technically be legal?
Me and Law of the Wild, who's on the call, have both demonstrated that we take issue at the foundation of you using a phrase like taking advantage of your rights. Me and Law of the Wild might say it differently. We would call that exercising your rights. And one of the reasons that we have rights is so that you get to do those things even if people like you don't fucking like it. That's why they're there. The rights exist to protect the people from people like you who want to stop them from doing things that the Constitution says they can do.
Well, the person that's trying to protect the American people by not letting non-American citizens here is trying to fucking tell me that I don't care about the American citizens. That's what's fucking wrong with you guys, bro. I'm literally advocating for the American people, and we got people.
I'm advocating for the American people because I understand the Constitution, and I don't take it for granted. You take the rights that you have in this country for granted if you think that people who are
really?
born. Yes, if you think the Fourth Amendment is a problem for your safety, such that we should throw away the entire Constitution by allowing the president to violate it, yeah, you take it for granted completely.
Oscar, check it out.
You are a brat. You are a child, my dude.
I'm a child. Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure my IQ is higher than what you think, bro.
Flailing. You're telling me your IQ is higher. Wow, so impressive. If your IQ is that high, you should understand that you're being ridiculous.
Let me show you something. I was adopted when I was 5 years old. So thank God, because it's two Americans had the ability to.
Vic is pointing out on YouTube Super Chat for $7 that every time you open your yapper, you're taking advantage of that First Amendment right, dude. I think you're really taking advantage of the First Amendment right. I think it's bad for societal utility that you get to have the First Amendment right, but I respect the Constitution too much to say that you shouldn't have it.
Okay, well, first of all, you don't respect the Constitution at all. Because if you did respect the Constitution, then you would at least acknowledge that people are taking advantage of the birthright citizenship and able to exploit their family to get things that
they're exploiting their family by exercising their rights. How are you sitting on this call and arguing that I'm the one who's going against the Constitution when you're sitting here defending a president who's violating the Constitution?
Sure. Can you name one person? Do you even fucking know? Can you name, like, with your hand? How many people can you name that are victims of illegal immigrants? Can you even name
victims of illegal immigrants? What in the fucking Gish Gallop pivot bullshit are you asking me?
Okay, so one more time. I'm over here defending the American people by saying that people who aren't American should not be able to.
I look at data. I look at how many total victims. No. I don't need to know their names to know the data.
You don't give a shit about that.
I do. You don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
cool. Give me the number. How many people can you name off your fingers that were a victim of the illegal immigrants? Can you name one? Can you name one name?
Lake and Riley is the one that everybody names, right? Like, what does it matter, dude? Like, the data, is it the data or the numbers that matter? You're gish galloping. You're just bringing up. No, I'm not. You're about to get kicked. The call is coming to an end because you're not participating.
I know, you can run if you want. I don't mind.
You can call it running, chat, keep or kick. If the chat wants you to stay, if they want to see you keep cooking me or whatever you think is happening, that's what can happen. The chat tends to love it when I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong. But again, dude, like you're just moving on to some other thing every time we get to any reasonable like point in this.
Yeah, okay, well, I was trying to give you statistics about people who were hurt by this, and then you're just not caring, telling me I don't care about the people.
You asked me to list 5 people's names, and then I told you I care about the data, and then you said you don't care about the names, and then I said I care about the data, and now you're telling me I don't care about the data. It is ridiculous, dude. You're a fish flopping around on the deck. Like, what is this conversation?
Okay, well, buddy, one more time. I was trying to name you victims of people who are illegal. American people were victims of.
I'm just gonna kick him. He got half the show, and that's fine because I mean, you know, you talked him in enough circles. But I got to talk people in enough circles that it's okay that they get kicked. How you doing, Law of the Wild?
I'm doing all right. I think it was pretty fascinating. That was a Gish Gallop fest, and then it started to turn into, you know, we're all children in high school debate club, you know, debating complex moral philosophy instead of adults discussing policy in the real world. But he tipped the deck there, and he essentially said that he doesn't care about violating the Constitution if he has some sort of a moral justification. And of course, morals are subjective. There's no such thing as objective morals. So he's advocating for, as long as somebody in power has a moral reason that I agree with to violate the Constitution, that's permissible. And I'm never gonna agree with somebody on that point.
Well, yeah. I mean, we even got, I think it was before you were on the line, but we got to the point where he was saying, like, well, why hasn't he been impeached? And it's like, if there isn't an enforcement mechanism for what the wrong thing that he's doing, that doesn't make it okay. Like, that is just what the problem is in the first place. And furthermore, talking to Phil Bros like that, like, I catch it because I fucking do this all day. I know you catch it because you're a fucking lawyer and you're good at doing this too. But he'll say a sentence where it's like, slow down, buddy. You said 3 or 4 things in that sentence that each need to be operationally defined for the sake of this conversation. When you talk about positive utility for society, when you talk about, you know, the moral value of these things, when you talk about the financial benefit of illegal immigrants, these are all things that need to have their own discussion. And if you pack too many of them into one sentence, you're gish galloping in one sentence by creating too much for us to dive into. And everybody got to see that if I tried to pin him down on any one of those things, he would immediately bring up a different one of them. If I try to pin him down on the economic value they bring to the country, he would start talking about you know, like what the constitutional amendment was originally meant for, which was slaves or something like that. Like, you're just jumping around all over the place. It's not a fucking conversation. There's no progress to be had. And it doesn't make him look good. They think it does, but it doesn't. But
well,
that's why I have him on.
And yeah, he's not an idiot because he was able to very successfully divert the conversation away from the main point and to try to divert it to things that he felt like he could defensively debate. Where at the end, I said this before, I'll say it one more time, and then you can drop me so you can get somebody else up. But he unironically proved the sign right. Being you can disagree with the Constitution. There's all sorts of things. There's
First Amendment allows that.
Yep. There's billion things that I disagree with that the courts have held as constitutionally protected that I think are utterly ridiculous. Bivens, you can't sue the federal government. All of those things I disagree with, but I'm bound by them and I have to follow them. And there's a process to change them. I don't get the authority to say I'm going to disregard the Constitution because I think that my position is better, because that's being a traitor.
Yeah, and I mean, and that was the thing that we just couldn't pin him down on. No matter how hard I tried to get him to stay on the fact that regardless of the reasoning, the president just can't change the Constitution. And then he's over here like, but I just want it to be illegals, blah. And it's just like, no, like the actual specific subject matter doesn't change the authority structure. I'll kick you for the algorithm, but thanks for hopping up for that one.
Yeah, no problem.
And before we move on to another caller, because we have some people in the queue, I will take a moment to give myself the commercial. So you should go to the link tree in my bio, follow me on the other platforms. That's free, doesn't cost a dime, and it helps me out a lot. If you have a dime, you can send it to my Venmo, PayPal, can buy me a coffee, or Cash App. And I have a couple people to thank. Katie, who sent me $50 on Venmo. That's huge. It's like a chunk of what I need to do every day for this to work. Thank you so much, Katie. She sent in it right as the show ended yesterday, so I worry that she was sitting there waiting for the acknowledgement but didn't get it. So she gets it now. She says, so happy you're live on YouTube now. Congrats on quitting your job and thank you for all you do. Yeah, did quit my job to run the show every day. So thanks everybody for that. And then also Renee, who sent me $7 with just a guitar emoji, and guitar strings cost about $7. So I'm going to think about Katie the next time I go to Twin Town, buy some guitar strings, because always burning through those guitar strings. But we're going to talk to Mew. We're going to see if Mew is going to give us a more functional debate than the previous caller. Oh no,
I'm sorry.
No worries.
I've been tapping in between cleaning the house. I'm so sorry.
No worries. Thanks for double tapping. And I will tell everybody else to double check, because I do see one friendly in the chat or in the request box, but it is not friendly time yet. So if we all get spamming away over here on TikTok, we can get somebody. We can get some new callers in here to have a conversation, because it's hard, like, especially when if I don't have somebody in the queue, when I have a debate like that, where that guy's obviously willing to sit here and spend his whole Sunday talking to me, even though he thinks it's embarrassing that I'm sitting here, I don't know, getting paid to do the same thing. But there's just, it gets circular, right? Like, that's why the chat wants him kicked. And I guess you guys would rather just me sit here and talk to nobody than listen to that over and over and over and over and over again. Because it is just absolutely a waste of time. I mean, how many times can I talk a person in the same circle? I don't know. I'll talk to the chat for a moment because we don't have anybody here. I should take a look at the YouTube chat, because I'm so happy that I've figured out my tech issues for getting on YouTube as well. I don't even know what I was doing wrong, but it's working great now. But let's see if I've got any questions to answer. Oh, yeah, people are arguing. That's good. I love argument in the chat. This feels so much like a radio station. I think it's so funny when the Republicans get mad at me for referring to this as a radio show, or I say it's not good radio what you're doing, this background noise you have, or the fact that you are not respecting the flow of the conversation or whatever, and people say it's not a radio show, and it's just I don't know, dude. Millions of people are watching. I could talk about that. I got to, how many? Let's do the check. Let's see how many Instagram followers Oskar has today. 62,500. I'm getting 12 million views a month right now on Instagram. The amount of unique accounts that I'm reaching is 3 million. So I just have to thank all of you guys for making the show work over here on TikTok and now also on YouTube in such a way that I get to produce this content and then get it to a really broad audience, because I'm really just very excited about the fact that there's some people who really matter who follow me on Instagram. I don't need to go name dropping all the very nobody big. It's not like fucking Bernie Sanders or somebody's following me on Instagram. But a lot of mayors, a lot of representatives, a lot of candidates for in states that are redistricting. There's people who kind of matter in this thing who are paying attention to my talking points, which is exciting. How you doing, Law of the Wild?
Real quick, I did notice in the chat there's a few people who followed me in here. Everybody follow Oskar. He's great. He does debates. He doesn't mute. It's very entertaining. Watch his clips. He clips the best parts of the show. So everybody in here, if you followed me in here, even if you didn't, follow Oskar. And we've got about 400 people in here. Let's get Oskar over 100K. If everybody taps the box, fills it up twice, get Oskar to 100K. Okay, drop me again.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Sometimes the co-hosts are a little more comfortable being bossy on my behalf than I than I like to be. But I don't use the mute button. That's like I haven't used the mute button to control a conversation in like, I mean, it happens sometimes. Sometimes the person is just yelling and I have to just mute and say, hey, if you're just going to yell, I need you to stop that so that we can have a conversation and you can be on the show. But like in general, it was one of the things when I was watching debates before I started doing them myself is that I could feel the flow of the conversation being so forced by a lot of the hosts that I listen to, where it's like, it's hard to tell if the person that you're talking to is even listening if you're muting them through everything, because for one thing, they are probably just still yapping away and don't even realize they're muted. So they're not listening. They're not hearing what you're saying. They're muted. They don't get their side in it. So then when you get to the end of your explanation, they look like a real doofus or whatever for not being able to follow it. But it just, I as the listener am not convinced that they even like heard the words you were saying, which just makes it hard to like really judge it as a conversation. Like I could walk through the talking points, if I'm dog walking somebody, it's just not very impressive if they're like unconscious and I'm dragging the leash up the street. Like it's just, they're not actually not taking in the conversation. So I really try to have a debate strategy on this show where I force the person to listen to the words I'm saying. I force them to acknowledge the words I'm saying. I force them to say back to me what I just described to show the audience that they were listening. And it's very hard. It's very hard to even get them to address the sort of thing they were talking about. That previous caller was accusing me of dodging a question. He wouldn't even let me repeat the question and then try to answer it again without moving on to something else. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Oh my God. I'm going to, for weeks, I'm sure I'm going to be apologizing to the YouTube chat for not paying close enough attention to it, because it is just another thing for me to manage while I sit up here. But if they are over talking, they're not listening anyway, says Key Lime over on TikTok. Yeah, absolutely. I get it. Like there are times where like the clip does really well and people in the comments are just like, why aren't you muting him? Why are you letting him do this? And I really just think it lets people like show how bad at this they are if I just put it on display. And I can kind of handle it. I'm just a good yapper. I'm just good at winning the arm wrestling competition. It's very, very rare that they're able to completely yap over me until I'm just fed up. And if that happens, if they're just going to yap for 30 seconds while I'm also yapping, I'm just going to hang up on them. I'm the host of the show and you're not answering questions. Get out of here. We're over 100K. We still don't have anybody in the queue on a Sunday? On a Sunday? Are all the Trump supporters at church? I don't believe it. No way. Usually we at least have some kids coming in here and yelling the N-word. That hasn't been happening as much lately. I see the moderators are inviting people who disagree in the chat because I really would rather have a conversation. I allow opposition in my chats. If you disagree with me on politics, that's fine. You can argue about it in the chat. That's no issue. But I do eventually get to muting people. 386 Pete's here. I'll talk to 386 Pete. Get in here. I see a bunch of ats at 386 Pete. Dude, get in the queue. Come on. It's interesting talking to you. Let's see. Let me get the invite box open. Yeah. There we go. 386 Pete. I sent you an invite. Let's have a conversation. I don't remember. I remember the type of caller that you are. I don't remember the exact topic we were on, but I want to talk to you about the Constitution. I want to talk to you about whether or not it makes you a traitor to support Trump. And I'm willing to be nicer to you. We got Frank Rizzo. Hello, how old are you?
58.
You're a Trump supporter?
I'm a President of the United States supporter.
Okay. I don't think that's reasonable. I don't think that you should actually just... Okay.
Yes,
I have something that I respect more than the president.
What's that?
The Constitution.
The Constitution you believe is absolute?
I believe it supersedes the president.
I didn't ask you that question. I asked you, is the Constitution absolute?
No, very few things are.
Okay. Well, everybody says it's the highest law of the land, but yet the Supreme Court seems to change it when they feel it will.
Well, yeah, we have structures for changing the Constitution, which gives certain structures and rules and procedures priority over the Constitution, which is why it's not absolute. But the fact of the matter is the president isn't one of those bodies. So, no, I put the Constitution above the president. I do not support a president if they don't obey the Constitution.
So let's just take immigration and the way you come into this country. Do you think when he signed that executive order?
Yeah. What about, you're talking about Executive Order 14160 that offered his opinion of the 14th Amendment?
No, when he signed the executive order about making English the national language. Is that wrong?
I don't. That's not one I focused on in particular, but we could have a conversation about that.
Well, that seems to be, when I talk to people, that seems to be what they're focused on. Why do we need one language in this country? I mean, I don't know how much traveling you're doing.
That seems like a hyper specific, random, particular opinion about something. I don't know what.
So I'm assuming you live in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Okay, 76% white population, very little bit of immigration.
Here we go.
Not about that. So don't think it's racist. So
We'll see.
I live in a borough. With a population larger than your whole state.
Oh, okay. Larger, a borough. Are you also a New Yorker? I grew up in New York. I lived there for 20 years.
Yeah, been here my whole life. Brooklyn.
Which borough do you live in? Brooklyn? Okay, I grew up in Lower Manhattan. Okay.
So I don't know if you're aware of what Canarsie is to what it was.
Yeah, I'm aware of a lot of the gentrification that's happening. I'm aware of a lot of the growing neighborhoods. You're talking to a New Yorker. So yeah, what expertise were you about to bring me from where you live?
No expertise. Because
why'd you bring it up?
Because people have a problem with English being the national language.
What is your opinion on English being the national language? We were talking about the president and the Constitution. I don't know how we got down this rabbit hole.
That's the Constitution, because that's part of the Constitution with immigration and becoming a naturalized citizen.
Does the Constitution say anything about what the national language should be?
Yes, it says you need to read and write English proficiently. It doesn't? Section 8. I forget which Section 8. I forget what.
Law of the Wild. If you're still here, come rescue me because you're gonna know these trivia points better than me. Are you talking about?
I focus on that like other people focus on other things. I don't have a problem with immigration. Just to make you perfectly.
Why did you bring on any of this up? What's happening? What are we talking about?
Well, because everyone just keeps going to the Constitution. Constitution is just it gets broken down. You read an amendment. Like Article 1, and then all of a sudden you got to realize there's other parts to Article 1.
Oh,
it's called headline reading. So being a headline reader, immigration, 14th Amendment about.
Right. The topic is that I don't think the president's following the Constitution. I think that's bad. I think that means I shouldn't support the president. And you're talking to me about New York and what you think the national language should be.
I apologize. I got on this late, and I thought you were just talking about Constitution. I apologize.
We can talk about whatever you want on the show, but we started the call. We started the call by you saying that you support the president, regardless of who they are. I said that's silly. You got to support the Constitution above the president. That's more important. And then I don't know how we got here. Like, what is this?
I don't know. Well, my ultimate thing is, what would you like to do that he's in power? He's going to be there for 4 years.
Well, we should impeach him. I don't think he is going to be there for 4 years. I think that if the midterms are free and fair, the polling data suggests that there's going to be an enormous blue wave in the legislative branch, and he'll immediately be impeached. I'm trying to increase the likelihood of that happening by demonstrating to my audience, which is pretty large these days, that people like you are fucking traitors.
I'm a traitor. Listen,
you demonstrated you were a traitor. I'm going to answer that question. You demonstrated that you were a traitor within 60 seconds of the call starting by saying that you respect the president above the Constitution. That makes you a traitor.
Okay, if you say
absolutely, yeah, that's basically what a traitor is.
Like I stated, that's why liberal radio doesn't make it, because you guys just want to vote.
Then why am I making it?
Right now you are, because I don't know. Listen, I don't know the financial.
I got to quit my job to do this full time. So you're saying this is why liberal radio doesn't make it? Well, we're not talking about liberal radio generally. We're talking about the Oskar Quentin show, which is succeeding very quickly. It's crazy how quickly I've been able to put my life on hold and do this full time. So what the fuck are you talking about?
Well, we'll see how long it lasts. I mean, hopefully you last forever. I have no.
How about instead of worrying about my career, you worry about some of these questions I've asked you?
You keep bringing it up. So what was the question? I'm sorry.
President takes an oath when they become president. Are you familiar with the oath?
Yeah, every person that works for the United States government in a military fashion takes that oath. Yeah. Every congressperson and House of Representatives takes that oath. I think the mayor of New York City takes that oath. If I remember, so they all take that oath.
Do you think that oath is important?
Do I take it serious? Yeah. Do they? No.
Okay.
Is that all supposed to be important? Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, so we agree there. My concern is that they're not, and that is, I think, a very big deal, and I no longer support the president because he doesn't follow that oath. I mean, I never supported him because I don't agree with him politically, but I can deal with that. Dealt with that with the first term. Didn't go start a radio show about it during the first term, because for the most part, he was following the rules. The checks and balances were working, even if he was doing some stuff in the White House that I wasn't personally a fan of because of my political predilections. But right now, we've got a real problem where he's not obeying the Constitution. He's not following the rules. And I think that that's a fucking emergency because I'm a patriot. You don't think that's an emergency. And the fact that you don't think that's an emergency makes me think that you're not a patriot, makes me think that you're a traitor. That's the topic.
Okay, so what's the thing that most you feel that he's not following the Constitution?
I can give a lot of examples, but we can move on to a different one I brought up earlier, which is that we didn't really focus on, which is that when he was asked directly by a reporter if he needed to follow the Constitution when dealing with the fact that it is hard to give due process to as many people as needed to deport all of the illegal immigrants, he responded, "I don't know," because he knew in that moment that to follow the Constitution would go directly against what he was saying, which is that he was saying that we don't necessarily need to give due process to all the illegal immigrants because he doesn't value the fucking Constitution. Across the board, he does not behave in a way that respects the Constitution at all. There are dozens of examples of him going directly against its language through things like executive orders or disobeying the orders of judges or things like that. Like, we could sit here and list them, but we saw me talk for 45 minutes with one caller about one example of this, and the caller just didn't give a shit for some reason. So you're a different caller. I don't know how you care about these things, but the president out of his own mouth said that he doesn't know if he has to follow the Constitution. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm going to go back in time. So when Richard Nixon was asked that same question, he says, when other people do it, it's wrong. When the president does it, it's right. So what president since Richard Nixon has followed the Constitution? And I will argue to say the only one who did follow it that had any ethics was Jimmy Carter. And that's why he was a one-term president.
The question again is that Trump said that he doesn't know if he has to follow the Constitution. And you brought up fucking Jimmy Carter.
I'm trying to explain to you, that's why these presidents don't believe they have to. He's not going to say, I don't know. He's not going to say, no, I don't have to.
Nixon resigned because he had so obviously committed high crimes and misdemeanors. And according to the rules in the Constitution, he was so obviously going to be impeached by Congress, which at the time was occupied by patriots, in my opinion, even if I disagree with a lot of them politically, because it was so obvious that he'd done something impeachable that he saved us all the trouble and resigned. Trump does something that obviously unconstitutional at least once a week.
I'm not going to argue that. I mean, the latest one was insider trading, which I can...
Wait. You just said you're not going to argue that. Do you think it was reasonable for Nixon to resign? Do you think that was the right move?
Yeah.
So you think it would be reasonable, therefore, the conclusion I can draw from those two things together is
absolutely. I said it the other day. My whole
you weren't on my show the other day. You came on defending him. You said you support the president. The president is Trump.
Again, different between him and the presidency. You support the president. Should someone tell him to step down? Absolutely. I mean, don't say because
sounds like you're telling him to step down.
I can't tell him to do nothing. Nobody can tell a narcissist what to do.
Okay, so you admit he's a narcissist. Okay, again, so you seem to have a clear picture of this, but why don't you care that what he's doing is so bad, narcissistic, and unconstitutional?
I said I do care, but there's nothing we can do. Now, if you're saying the answer is just to vote blue to get him out of office, that's ridiculous. Because what you're telling people is, doesn't matter if we have another criminal going there, a lesser criminal.
No, it does matter because I do think that J.D. Vance is a lesser criminal than Donald Trump. But if
I'm sorry.
If we impeach Donald Trump now, J.D. Vance becomes the president in America where the Congress that we have impeaches its unconstitutional president. So he'll think, oh, fuck, I can't do all that crazy shit that Trump was up to or they'll fucking impeach me. And that would be an improvement on the state of affairs. So I don't care that you're okay with being cucked to the degree that you have by the current administration. We do have the power to change that as a democracy. And the date is coming up. The deadline is approaching. We got to get out and vote for some people who are going to follow the fucking Constitution.
And you think the only way to do that is to vote blue?
I think that is one mechanism. I think that it is so important that we impeach Trump that people in their local elections should do as much as they can to vote for a candidate who will respect the Constitution and impeach Trump. I think that is more important than almost any particular local issue of politics right now. I'm sure there are certain places where there's like a counterexample where a Republican candidate that supports Trump is obviously the better choice than some particular blue candidate because of some particular thing to do with
that's all I'm asking you to state.
Sure. Yes, I'm not an absolutist. When I say that we need to vote blue, in November, that doesn't mean that you should elect a pedophile over somebody who is a Republican who isn't a pedophile. The fact of the matter is that whether you're voting for pedophiles or Republicans, you're making the same fucking choice at the moment.
So I would have accepted the E. Jean Carroll case, but I'm not accepting well, you could say it on your show, I guess, pedophile. I don't know. I'm on TikTok, so I apologize.
I'm looser than a lot of other hosts with it. I really push back on the Orwellian newspeak.
No. I just thought you get blocked.
I appreciate you being careful. I do value the call. Even if I disagree with the caller, I really do value that you're trying to respect the show. I'm just a little looser with the language than most hosts on here.
Well, honestly, I hope you make $1 million off your show, but I do have to get to work, so I just called to state that. Have a great day.
All right, dude. What a nothing burger. Like, man, like, you see how quickly he shied away from the New York topic when I told him that I'm literally a fucking New Yorker? My goodness. Thank you, Ethan, for the $5 on Venmo. Is there a message? He says, ask Frank about supporting Biden, please. Oh, yeah. That's one of the angles, right? Did you support Biden? I think that he would have said yes. I think that I've kind of had that archetype of caller before, and I do think he would have, like, said, like, well, he was the president, of course, and there's no way to judge whether or not that's true because we didn't know Frank, during the Biden administration. So it's a good gotcha sometimes, but it can also just be a little bit of a dead end because sometimes they just say yes. Palantir hater, who is Ethan, by the way, in the chat says that he loves me. Love you too, bro. Let's see where we got. We got 400 people watching, 60 on YouTube. Great that the YouTube streams are healthy. I'm glad that people are excited to be watching over there. There's lots of W's there, but my name is spelled with a K, not a C. It's not just a username. My name is actually spelled with a K. I'm named after Oskar Schindler. We are going to talk to Scratch. I think I remember talking to Scratch. I could be wrong. I don't know. The usernames are all a blur. How old are you?
19.
You support Trump?
I love Donald Trump, bro.
All right. I'm just going to make the announcement clearly that based on your tone, I'm going to make some assumptions based on your tone and the bro that was at the end of your sentence, which is that you don't actually weigh any of these things very seriously, and you've called in to have fun because I'm upset about all this and you're not. Am I on the right track?
No, I'm a leftist. I just want to steel man mega arguments, okay? Helps all of us, trust me.
Well, okay, so again, I recognized the disingenuous nature of your call. Do you think it supports? Do you think it?
I'm not trying to be disingenuous.
What?
Huh? No, I just think it's good to have people, right? Because MAGA ultimately isn't intelligent at all, right? They can't make good arguments generally.
No, you called into my show and
you do research, so you can try and steel man arguments better.
You called into my show and you lied to me and told me you were a Trump supporter. Do you think if you sit here and troll and LARP as a Trump supporter and make some bad arguments on their behalf, steel man some of their bad logic and waste my time on it, do you think that makes our side of the movement look good?
Yeah.
Why?
You can defeat me, yeah. Why? Because one,
I think I've already defeated you. I think your approach to this is dishonest, and we're not going to beat.
There's two things. One, you know the better mega arguments, right? You know what they might be if you ever run into those people.
What's that clicking? You playing video games? You're not even giving this. What's the clicking? You playing video games? You're not even giving this your full attention.
No, bro.
What is that clicking then? It stopped now.
I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
I'm sure you do. I don't care that you're on my team, dude. You're a disingenuous asshole.
I'm disingenuous for steel man mega arguments. Okay.
You're disingenuous for calling into my show and telling me that you're a Trump supporter when you don't, because you think you have some hierarchy. You think you're so much better than what I'm doing that you're going to use dishonesty to engineer a conversation on this show that you think is good for my goals.
I think true. Holy shit. I'm the best. I'm way better than you, man.
All right, so that's Scratch. And he said he's a leftist, which I don't know how seriously he takes that label, because I always have to defend the whole liberal versus leftist thing. I don't have anybody in the queue, so I'm going to talk about it for a moment, and I'm going to ask everybody to get double tapping away on the screen so we can get another caller in before the show ends. We got 40 minutes. There's plenty of time for nonsense. The chat's saying that he's a pro rage baiter. How did I do? I detected it in the tone of his voice and immediately called him on it. Oh my goodness, Lego! Thank you for the galaxy. I appreciate you so much. But yeah, there's the liberal and leftist thing, which is for people who don't maybe know the exact distinction. Liberals want to fix the system through progressively, through change and voting and stuff. And the liberals or the leftists think that the system is broken. They want to get rid of capitalism. They want to burn it down, start something new. So the joke I like to tell is that I'm a liberal until the Civil War starts, and that day I'll become a leftist because I am going to pick a side when the Civil War starts. But the leftists aren't really on my team either if it comes to mostly what we've talked about today. Just constitutionality and following the rule of law and respecting what happens in the midterms. The leftists don't seem to care what's going to happen in the midterms, and I think that's fucking irresponsible because they have these more extreme ideas about how exactly we should achieve progress in this country. but they're irresponsibly throwing a lot of people under the bus. Like you might value Marxism or whatever. We're not going to get Marxism as a result of the midterms, so they're flipping the table saying, fuck this, don't vote for anybody, this is bullshit. And I'm like, yeah, but if we vote blue, like ICE might stop like murdering people or kidnapping brown people. That'd be good. That'd be nice. we can talk about like, you know, more socialist ideals for society, like progressively, but it ain't gonna matter if Trump's a dictator. Like, anyway, that's my little spiel. I try to give the spiel on the show like every week or so, just to keep the libertarians at bay, keep the Marxists at bay, because I'm just like not into these third-party ideologies unless they want to team up with us to solve the current emergency, so that we can then move on to looking at some third-party ideologies with like ranked choice voting or something in the future in this country. Let's see. Vic says, see, the issue with the left is we tend to nitpick each other's specific beliefs and get peeved about them. With the right, they don't care how to be right as long as you're on their side. Yeah, that is like the fact that we were so principled here on the left. There's all this infighting, and part of what I'm doing by asserting that I refuse to take serious attention for the libertarians and the Marxists and stuff is I'm saying like, nah, dumb fucks, it's team blue versus team red, and we're fucking losing because of this division. It's working. The fact that the conservatives literally want African Americans to be mad at Hispanics so that they can take up discourse time being mad at each other about which of them is getting fucked over more by the system, or which of them is benefiting more from social programs, or whatever the fuck type of nonsense talking points they give us to argue about. So it's like a bummer that I spend so much time on the show, like addressing people who are on my side of the political spectrum but disagree with me about solutions, because what I fundamentally run this show about, and what I care most about is like a pragmatic solution to the problem that we have with democracy in America right now. And I give people a chance sometimes. All right, if you think Marxism is a solution to that problem, let's hear it, buddy. And then I get ratioed to shit. I have like a trial reel on YouTube. It's the most views I've ever gotten on a trial reel that doesn't get pushed to the public, doesn't get pushed to my followers. It just gets sent into the algorithm. It has like 50 or 100,000 views or something. And I'm just ratioed to absolute hell. It has like 500 likes and 1,000 shares, something like that. Because it just got served to a bunch of Marxists. And it's basically the argument I just gave. It's a Marxist caller on, like defending Leninism. And I'm just like apathetically like, nah, dude, like it's not, I don't care about like the fact that you think that this is like philosophically the right approach. I just like eye rolled him and like said I wasn't interested in it. And the point of the clip was to be like, yeah, this doesn't help the Trump problem. But the algorithm decided to only show the clips to fucking Leninists. So it got absolutely ratioed. It's out there, though. People are like, you took it down. No, I didn't. It just never made it to the main page as a trial reel on Instagram. It's on my Facebook. It's on one of my TikTok accounts. I don't know which, because I post those across three platforms. But it's just the reason I didn't post it, even though it was a well-performing video, like it would have like helped me get followers or whatever. So I'm just not trying to engage with the fucking Marxists. I don't care. Like I don't want them to follow me. I don't want them to pay attention to me. They can if they want to, but like it's just not. I'm sitting here talking about it because I don't have a collar. So if you're a Trump supporter and you want to talk about something that actually matters in the country today, you can hit the request button, which is like down here to the right of the comment section over here on TikTok. But you know, it's not valuable. Phil Bros, man. Phil Bros. I'm getting so sick of the Phil Bros. Because the Law of the Wild pointed it out about the first caller. He was articulate. He was good at gish galloping. That strategy of just flooding with nonsense faster than the host can answer to it. But he's still wrong about like his approach to it. But he's not like the sort of incompetent dunce that I can just dog walk through an explanation of constitutionality. But all these Phil Bro tactics just don't really work on me. I just see right through it. And it's just, I was the president of the philosophy club in my college, so I dealt with the Phil Bros. It was literally my job to like keep the misogyny under control in the philosophy club, and I quit because I failed. I couldn't stop the philosophy club from becoming a fucking incel echo chamber, so I resigned because I said that we have these really serious problems where like girls are showing up to the meetings and getting scared away by the behavior in the room, so we need to talk about fucking manners and etiquette and shit. And a lot of people were bringing, I let people in the philosophy club like pitch ideas to run a meeting about a particular thing, a particular ethical presentation or whatever they wanted to do. And so often the presentations were just kind of dog whistly, sort of like, this sounds a little misogynistic. Like, what are we talking about here? It's just like neckbeard talking points. And I really tried to control the ethics of the club. But I think that philosophy gives there's a particular power with the set of vocabulary terms you learn in a philosophy class that lets you do what that first caller did, which is like you come up with a very precise definition what you mean by all these words you're saying, and then you can say a big long sentence, and to you it's like a bunch of cogent ideas threaded together, but to everybody else it just kind of sounds like a bunch of nonsense, which is why you need to slow down and define these things in a philosophical conversation. They refuse to do that. It's unclear how exactly they define these things, so it's hard to really assess how they got to their conclusion. Like it doesn't matter that the Constitution isn't being followed, or that women are lesser to men, or like whatever fucking nonsense it lands on. I'm sitting over here like, hey, I actually stopped you on step 2. I know you kept going all the way to step 14. None of that matters. Can we talk about step 2? And then they just never do. They just never actually sit and do the patient thing of figuring the stuff out. Because if you do, like do the work of taking a claim and defining every word in it, suddenly their strategy stops working. Because somebody like me who can define those words in sensible ways, or will insist on defining those words in the ways that people actually out in the real world use them, that completely destroys that argument. It just doesn't work, which is why the Phil Bros just like find me to be the brick wall that I am when I'm talking to them, because I know the fucking shit. I dealt with it. I was really sad that I had to resign from president of the philosophy club, because it was becoming a fucking incel echo chamber, and the professor who was like in charge of it, who I reported to, wasn't fucking doing anything about it, and that shit needed to go. I didn't want to be a part of it. I couldn't put my name on it, is really the issue, you know? Like I wanted to keep trying, but Phil Bros. Yes, I'm talking about the Phil Bros. And I'm going to thank why it on YouTube Super Chat for $2, who says, every leftist I know is pro-Constitution right now. Yeah, because at the core of it, here's what it is. At the core of it, you can be against the Constitution. You can say that we need a new Constitution. I think we might. Like, we might need, sometime in the decades to come, like a catastrophic reboot to our system that was designed in the 1700s. But that's such a dangerous thing to do generally, because it throws out all the Supreme Court precedent. It throws out like 250 years of case law that have determined all this minutia about how the country works, that people take that minutia for granted. They don't realize that the reason that the police officer can't detain you without cause at a traffic stop is because of decades and decades, potentially hundreds of years of like iterative development to our legal system. So it's really dangerous to try to throw it away and start a new one, which is why I believe that right now what we need is progress. But if we're going to do something catastrophic, which is what the leftists want, I think the only reasonable way to do that, the only safe way to even begin to think about doing that, is if we're already in a place of calm and peace in terms of the constitutional order. There's conflict with the Constitution right now. The government is divided. There's half of our elected officials support the Constitution, and the other half support an aging, overweight, senile rapist. That is not a good foundation to build a new constitution on, which is why you are just wrong about the approach to what we should do in America right now. If you think instead of focusing on the midterms, we need to focus on some sort of constitutional upheaval. It's just unpragmatic, you know? It's like the house is on fire. There's a fire in the living room, and you're like, you know, we should really build a new house. And it's like, look, we don't have money for that. We're going to maybe build a new house when this one's like done in 10 or 20 years. But like, the house is currently on fire. There's people in it. Can you please go get a fire extinguisher? Well, the fire extinguishers for the current house, and I actually support the next house. I think I have like a better floor plan that I've designed. It's going to be way better for hosting parties. Yeah, the fucking house is on fire though. Can we put the fire out so that we can sit in the house protected from the elements and like design a new one, maybe build it at the same time so we can move into it? Anyway, the analogy doesn't need to go any further. You guys get it. It's becomes the Oscar echo chamber if there's no callers. But how is it that I don't have callers on a Sunday? I take for granted that I always have callers now, because it's been like months since I've had an episode where I had a hard time getting callers, which is why I started posting the show as a VOD on YouTube, until YouTube pestered me to also do it live on there. Thanks everybody on YouTube who pestered me for me to go live. I should have done it ages ago. It's not that much work. I'm handling it. Only wasted 5 minutes of the show on technical difficulties. But yeah, that's fundamentally it. It's just pragmatic. Hello, Elvis Trump. Good to see you. Yeah, the house burning down thing is I can see people in the chat really like that analogy, but it's like, you know, when the accelerationists come in and say that Trump is going to like tear up the economy so that we can like start a new one, it's like, yeah, well, we evacuate the house before we build a new one, and we just can't do that with the economy. So like, we can't just like turn it off for a month and build a new one. It's ridiculous. Is there a phone number for people on YouTube to call in? There is not, and I am technologically capable of figuring that out, but I don't for a very specific reason, which is that when somebody calls into this show, if they come up and yell the N-word, their account gets a ding, and I only get a ding if I fail to kick them quickly enough. And if it takes a lot of people coming up and yelling the N-word for me to get a ding on my account, whereas if I had somebody call in through like Discord or Google Voice or something, and I piped them in, TikTok wouldn't be able to tell the difference between their voice and mine because it's coming from the same feed. So that would just be an immediate avenue for somebody to get my account deleted. The account wouldn't last a day if I had a call-in phone number, which is why you see debate shows that have call-in numbers aren't hosted on TikTok, or if they are, they don't stay up very long because it just gives trolls an opportunity to get in there. I have been thinking, here's stuff that we could talk about. We've got Discord projects. If you're a dedicated viewer who's still here listening to me yap about nothing, you can message me in private, or if you know who the mods are on the platform you're watching on, you can message the mods. And if we recognize your username and like see you as a person who's a regular in the chat, we are trying to expand the Discord because we have some projects going on over there. But now that I'm in this full-time flow of doing this show 10 to 12, I'm thinking about adding additional streams that are of a different nature. I still intend on having the Estruscos on, the Minnesota Angry family that are in a whole heap of trouble for getting in that fight with Savannah Hernandez. I want to have that conversation in public with them, but that's not really suitable for this show, which is why I haven't done it. So, but now I have the freedom, I have the like breathing room to potentially do that as like an evening show on like a Sunday evening or something. But I also want to maybe do like, all right, let's talk off TikTok so we can actually like talk how we really feel. Like it would be great to do a set of calls with maybe some known callers where they can call a phone number and I can just record it or only stream it on YouTube, where YouTube's not as strict. Like YouTube's not going to take anybody down for saying a slur or any, like they just don't have a flagging system like that. So I'd love to expand the show beyond the current structure of just operating with the TikTok call system. But I mean, I guess I can make that a commercial for myself. If you want to send me some donations, that's the sort of stuff I'm talking about. I'm still very sad I'm not in New Jersey. Like, really, the show's going well. I'm kind of like putting together a budget for expanding the show. I need to get new webcam and stuff. But like, I'm literally so just upset with my circumstances that I couldn't be in New Jersey during this whole thing that's going on at Delaney Hall, because I just watched the footage and I'm like, I just belong there. I'm so sad I'm not there to support my friends, support the movement in the way that I want to. Because we scared them away from Minnesota. Like, they took the fences down at the Whipple building. They're done messing with us there because they realized it's not the approach. Like, we're too whoa, Legos and Galaxy Globe. That's a new one. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Anyway, we're going to talk to Salvador. Maybe the show will have one more debate, so everybody get double tapping away on the screen so we can get the conversation shown to new people, if it is a good one. Salvador, how old are you?
Ooh, I'm 18.
You're 18. What year were you born?
2007.
I'm going to believe you. I might ask further qualifying questions to prove you're an adult if I begin to doubt that you are an adult. You support Trump?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I see your son. Why do you think MAGA means traitor?
Because there's this thing happening in the MAGA movement where people really are pledging their allegiance not to the country or to the Constitution specifically, to the rule of law here, but to an individual, to a personality, to Trump or whoever's going to replace him after he's gone. And I think that type of mindset is literally treasonous. I think you're a traitor if you think that way. And I'm willing to defend that calmly. I'm not going to be mean about it right away. But I really do think that that's fundamentally un-American.
I mean, I remember y'all saying, blue no matter who, and the feminist chose a bear, right? And the anti-men rhetoric. I mean, y'all handed Trump the win.
What?
The blues are the cultists.
I don't feel that is a sensible thing to say at all. If we're a cultist, cults are basically like belief groups that are kind of similar to religions, but they're specifically focused around a corporeal personality, like a person. So for there to be a cult, there is like a central idea or figure that we're surrounded around. So if that's the case with the people on the left, what is the central figure of our cult? Who is it? What is it?
Just the Democratic Party in general. Like, y'all, blue no matter who. I remember y'all saying that.
Well, there are exceptions to that. We've talked about it. Like, I don't believe that absolutely. You can come up with, like, hypothetical counterexamples where I'd be like, oh, yeah, you should vote for this red candidate because of this big glaring reason. What I'm saying is that in the midterms, because of everything I just described about the constitutional order in this country and the way that the Constitution is in danger because of the MAGA movement, which I consider treasonous, I think it's very important that we elect some blue candidates, because it happens to be the blue candidates who are going to impeach the president for violating the Constitution. And I think that is a bigger issue in this country than just about anything else you can bring up. So even if you need to take a hit on a local policy you care about, you do still need to recognize that it is a bigger deal that the president's not following the Constitution, probably. Again, I'd be willing to hear an argument for any particular candidate. But in general, the focus of the nation right now needs to be to get back to following the Constitution. And the pathway to that happening is electing blue candidates in the midterms.
I still think Trump would be the better option.
Well, there's two questions here. Do you think it's important for the president to follow the Constitution?
Yeah.
Do you think that Trump is following the Constitution?
I think he's maybe like accidentally bended the rules and such. Like,
I don't think it's accidental at all. I think
he has the right intentions. Like,
I don't think that
Joe
he does.
Biden actually. Joe Biden actually violated the Constitution before.
Joe Biden's biggest constitutional violation was when he tried to forgive the student loans with an executive order, which is not the right way to do that because it's the legislative branch's job to handle money. They have the power of the purse. So the Supreme Court ruled against him. It was a big blunder. It was a big fuck up on his part. That happened once in 4 years. Trump does something that is obviously worse, not just as bad, but literally worse, because the Constitution doesn't talk about student loans. It's not like he said, hey, look at this page in the Constitution. I don't like it. Here's what it should say. But Trump literally does do things like that. We've been talking a lot today about Executive Order 14160, in which Donald Trump literally quotes the 14th Amendment and offers an interpretation of it that he says is law of the land now by executive order. I was about to bring up something that had to do with a different executive order. Sorry, I get them all confused. So many constitutional violations. The point is, he quoted the Constitution, offered an interpretation of it that goes against what the Supreme Court offers as their interpretation on it, because the Supreme Court has ruled on exactly who the 14th Amendment applies to. That's not cool. Biden never did anything like that.
Well, aren't presidents allowed to challenge the Constitution?
No.
Like, change it?
Nope.
So who is this? The Supreme Court?
The Supreme Court is allowed to offer their interpretation of what it says in the Constitution. If you want to change what it says in the Constitution, there's actually no mechanism to do that whatsoever. We're not allowed to change the Constitution at all. We are allowed to amend it. We can add things to it. So if you want new language to be in the Constitution to protect some new particular right or to overturn something that already is in the Constitution, that's the job of the legislative branch. The president works at the executive branch, and it is very important. It's laid out specifically in the Constitution that no, the president has no control over this process. It's one of the ways that we protect the country from falling into tyranny, because if the president of a country, any country, this isn't just an American thing, if the president has the power to change the Constitution, that's not a president, that's a dictator, because it means they can do whatever they want.
I still think he has the right intentions.
Even if the intentions were good. There's two questions here, and this is where we got stuck with the first caller. You can agree with the ways in which he wants to change the Constitution. I don't agree. I don't think they're good ways. But that's a completely separate conversation from the very basic question, can the president change the Constitution? So it doesn't matter that you think that you like what he's doing. He's breaking the rules. You understand the difference between these two topics?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I was just about to say, I do think that him challenging the 14th Amendment was a good idea.
Again,
like, he can have
we can talk about that as a separate topic, whether or not you think the 14th Amendment is good. But the topic that I'm going to kind of force back to the center of this stage is it's not the president's job to do that.
And I'll concede to that. But, I still think Trump would have been a way better president than Kamala.
So you can concede that point. But what I'm saying is that point is so important that none of these issues of individual policy matter. I don't care that you like him over Kamala Harris for whatever reason. We just can't have a president who's breaking the rules in that way. The Constitution says that we're supposed to impeach the president if they break the rules in such a way.
Hold on, just so I know where I'm at. You voted for Kamala, right?
Kamala,
you voted for Kamala.
Yeah. And?
Why?
Because she obeys the Constitution.
But did you think she had the experience to be president?
Absolutely. She had just been vice president. She was Attorney General of California. She was District Attorney of San Francisco for years. She was a senator, was she not? Yeah, she had a fantastic political resume, even better than Trump's, even in consideration of him being president once already, because he did a terrible job the first time he was president. And when I say he did a terrible job, I'm not even talking about his policy. He was just bad at executing the office of the president. He wasn't educated on who the world leaders were. He didn't understand the law. He lost track of his meetings. Aides in the White House said that it was difficult getting him to understand civics well enough to do his own job. They kind of fixed that by the second term. But no, her resume was fantastic. What are you talking about?
I mean, I couldn't name one thing she did as vice president. Like,
you're just pivoting on to your opinions about Kamala Harris, and I'm also detecting what the chat is detecting a little bit. I don't think you're serious. I think you're trolling.
I'm serious.
Let me just ask you, why did you just start talking to me about Kamala Harris when the conversation was about whether or not we should impeach the president for the things that the president is literally doing? Kamala Harris isn't technically relevant to American politics at the moment. She's not running for any office. She's unless she goes and runs for something else, which she might, but for now she's retired. Why are we talking about her?
I mean, I was just saying, no, I did concede that we should have a president that follows the Constitution.
So you think we should impeach Trump then? Because he doesn't follow the Constitution.
Impeach, if he were to actually break the Constitution, then yes, but he hasn't been able to. Congress and courts have struck him down every time he's tried. So
no, that's not true. They haven't struck it down every time he's tried. There's numerous things that he's been successful at doing. Not to mention the fact that because what's going on with DHS? DHS is violating the Constitution left and right in terms of people's civil liberties out in the street, and Trump is defending them behind the lectern. That's terrible. We could talk about the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Congress passed a law, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, in November. Trump tried to prevent that law from being passed, which he is allowed to do as president. He's allowed to put pressure on Congress men and women to vote in the way that he wants them to, but he failed, and the law did pass. And now he's violating that law. And if the president is violating the law in the way that he is clearly with the Epstein Files Transparency Act, never mind the fact that implicates him for involvement in sex crimes. Just the fact that he's violating that law should be enough to impeach him, because we impeach the president for high crimes and misdemeanors. He's not respecting any of the structure of government in this country.
No, sir. I think he's making the correct. I think he's making the correct decisions for this country.
The chat said, somebody in the chat just said, there's no point in talking to teenagers about politics, but I disagree, because you have voting rights, right? You aren't old enough to have voted for Trump, if I'm not mistaken, right? Unless you're...
Yeah.
Are you? No, you said you're 18, not 19.
I turned 18 in December.
Yeah. I'll take a moment to thank Dark Tapir for saying, remember when going to a video rental place was $5? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Thank you for the $5, Dark Tapir. So there are numerous things that he is getting away with, because he's finding these ways to work around it. I mean, one of the examples of the things that he's doing that's unconstitutional is changing election policy through executive order, which again is very specifically disallowed by the Constitution, because we don't want to give a president control over their own elections. That's a states' rights issue. But he's threatening the states by withholding federal funding, which again is illegal and unconstitutional, because it's Congress that's supposed to determine funding. So he is getting away with a bunch of illegal, unconstitutional shit. This $1 billion slush fund for J6 rioters, unconstitutional. The fact that he pardoned them in the first place, wildly unconstitutional. These are people who literally attempted to overthrow the United States government. What he did in 2020 with that election, difficult to talk about on TikTok, because you get flagged for it regardless of which side you're on. It's kind of a nuclear topic, but that was flagrantly unconstitutional and illegal. And they've gotten through on corruption and loopholes.
Well, your fans are asking about the war. So I think this is a prime example of the liberals not knowing anything, because we're not actually in a war.
All right. War is defined by political scientists as anything other than a state of peace. Would you say that we are at a state of peace with Iran?
No, but we're in a conflict.
Okay, that is, according to political scientists, a war. You are correct that there hasn't been a war declaration made, but a war declaration is different than a state of war.
Congress hasn't ruled on it, so it's not a war.
Yeah, I just answered that argument before you even made it. I pointed out to you that you do not have to have Congress approve whether or not you're at a state of war, because just like if I hit you with an axe and you bled,
Congress has to approve
a doctor doesn't have to tell you you're bleeding for you to be bleeding. You understand that, right? The Congress doesn't have to approve a state of war for it to be a state of war. That's not how it works. A declaration of war is a legal thing that has to do with the powers of the government.
Congress does have to approve on it for it to be a war.
Okay.
For U.S. law.
When the conflict in Vietnam in the 60s and 70s, would you call that a war?
I call it Nam.
The Vietnam War, right?
Nam, yeah.
Okay, so if you're unwilling to call Vietnam a war, then like, what's the point? Like, so the president could have a what if Iran turned out to be like Vietnam? What if we sent tens of thousands of troops and tens of thousands of people died, and it was a big, horrible humanitarian crisis, bigger than it already is? Would you still just fold your arms and say it's okay because Congress didn't declare war? Like, what is wrong with you? It's disingenuous. Now I'm not even trying to educate you. I'm just mad at you because you know what you're doing. It's shitty. I apologize to the fucking veterans for listening, for minimizing what happened to them. A lot of veterans watch my show.
Well, I'm not minimizing, and I do respect our veterans.
You're absolutely minimizing what happened in Vietnam by refusing to call it a war.
No, I'm not. But it's legally not a war. It's a conflict. But I do respect our veterans, and I'm not minimizing what they've been through.
I'm going to kick you if you refuse to say these next words. I want you to repeat after me. Hey, veterans, Vietnam was not a war.
Hey, veterans, Vietnam was not a war. Wait, no, I won't wait. Will you kick me if I do or don't say that?
I will kick you if you don't say it because I want to make sure you have a spine. So you have to say it because it's in accordance with everything that you've said so far. Thank you, Charlie, for the $5 on Venmo. He says, you're great at staying chill with some truly annoying people. I think I might know who you're talking about, Charlie. Thank you and the mods for getting YouTube set up. Thank you so much. And W in the chat for the mods because the mods are really making it happen. There's a lot of workload with this show that they handle. I want you to tell all the people, I want you to tell all the veterans of the wars that we fought after 9/11, the war on terror. I want you to tell them that what they did wasn't war.
No, but we can colloquially call it war.
We can colloquially call it war.
But legally we can't because it was a conflict legally.
Okay, are we on the House floor or are we on the Oskar Quentin debate live where we use words that people understand when talking about things that are happening in the world?
What?
You recognize that we can colloquially call it a war. I said moments ago, before you continued this arbitrary argument about war declarations, I said already that anybody calls it a war, and a war declaration in Congress is a legal governmental thing that has specific meaning, but it just isn't the same thing as what people mean when they say the word W-A-R, war. You recognize that, right?
You guys are referring to it as a war, though, which it's legally not. It's a conflict, legally speaking.
I am referring to it colloquially as what it is, which is a war.
But you can't refer to it legally, and that's what you're trying to do, because it's not. And I can call it.
I am not asserting that there has been a war declaration. There hasn't been a war declaration in this country since the 40s. What I'm saying is that we are at war. I'm saying that's what the political scientists say. That happens to also be what Trump says. That also happens to be what the Secretary of War says when he talks about the war in Iran. That's also the people who made the Vietnam War memorials thought, because they called it the Vietnam War Memorial. You are refusing to use this word because if you just be a stick in the mud about semantics, it makes it hard to actually talk about the fact that the president is killing people in a way that's unconstitutional.
No, sir. It was a conflict.
Anything else before I let you go? Because I'm not, like, if you're just unwilling, you admitted that we can colloquially call it a war, but if you're just going to keep saying that it's not a war, then there's no point in talking to you. You don't speak English. You refuse, because if you spoke English, you
we can call it a war, but it's technically not a war.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Fuck you, bitch.
Mean about it. I gave him every opportunity to, like, accept, okay, you said colloquially we can call it a war. Great. Let's go back to having the conversation in which I am colloquially calling the war a war. If you're just unwilling, then, like, I mean, I try to be more patient with the 18-year-olds. I know people are like, why are you talking to kids? But, like, that's the most important people for me to talk to. Most of the conversations on this show are people who I'm not going to reach, but the conversations are educational, and they show people, like, the problem we're dealing with these treasonous MAGA supporters. But when I talk to an 18-year-old, like, there's a chance of me breaking through maybe some of the nonsense. Lifelong educator. Joseph sent me another Cash App. Let's see. $5 from Joseph. He says, thanks for trying to talk reason with these people. Yeah, I'm, like, willing to give it a good the good old college try when it comes to a caller like that. But if he demonstrates that he's just going to be completely disingenuous, then it is a waste of time. There's no point in just like talking in circles about this. I don't know what he would, I don't think he'd like him, people not calling it a war if a missile fell on his house. I also love, I don't know, the chat can let me know if it's a fun gag. Maybe some of the veterans in the chat could let me know if it's a good gag. I love making them say, hey, veterans, Vietnam wasn't a war. Hey, veterans, the war in Iraq and Afghanistan wasn't a war. Because it just forces them to all right, if that's the position you're taking, you're just going to recognize that you're starting from a place of calling Vietnam not a war. Their red-pilled ideas are crazy. Dude, I feel like I can tell when somebody's red-pilled by their tone. I can just tell so quickly. Oh, what do you know? A veteran buddy of mine, Raven, one of our mods, has joined the chat. How you doing, Raven?
Hi, I'm doing well. I was just thinking, for the sake of that line of questioning that you give them with tell the veterans that wasn't a war.
Yeah.
I think you should add in that tell them that the injuries they sustained were sustained in a conflict, not a war.
Yeah.
Because then that makes it personal. You really have to have them almost be insulting the disabled veterans.
Yep. Yeah. How did you're a veteran? How does it feel to hear that from so many people? I'm sure you hear it all the time.
I'm not a combat veteran, so it's a little bit of a different perspective. My nukes didn't go overseas, otherwise that would have been a bad day.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's obviously less of a personal note for me, but I just obviously don't like when people use veterans for clout after they vote for people that harm them, demonstrably.
Yeah. No. Got another caller. Do you want to take it with me or do you want to hop down?
I'm going to hop down.
Thanks for hopping up.
Bye.
W's in chat for Raven. Raven mods on the show. Raven's also a buddy of mine in real life. And Raven is also here sleep deprived because we were at the same party last night. We're going to talk to AUT to be me. Ought to be me. Ah, there we go. That's it. Ought to
Hello,
be me.
how are you?
Doing all right. How old are you?
I am 56.
You support Trump?
No.
Oh, well, thanks
In
for
bridge, yes. In bridge, yes. In wish, yes. But in real life, no.
Oh, okay. In jest, yeah, I got you. It's friendly time. We can have a chat. What's up?
Well, I wanted to congratulate you on the new acronym you established.
What is it?
The one, the traitor acronym.
Oh, what is it? What is it?
Transphobic, racist, arrogant, idiotic Trumper on roids. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Just your random thought for the day.
No. I'm going to change it. I'm going to say that they're on retreat if they're on my show.
Okay. But I don't think we should have treated them in the first place. But that's okay.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, it's today's another one of those brick wall days where it's just they keep calling in and saying the same things over and over and over again, and I'm just like, but the Constitution. Excuse me, sir, but the Constitution.
What is that? That still exists?
Yeah, that old piece of paper. I don't know. It's written in cursive. It's hard to read. Why do we even care? What does it matter, right?
Well, I live in Massachusetts. I just spent the past 36 to 48 hours at our yearly Democratic State Convention. Mm-hmm. And humbly and respectfully, I would posit the theory that it might be dead, might be unalive all the way around, because I don't think freedom of speech exists anywhere at this point, which is a little disconcerting.
Yeah, I guess part of what I'm trying to get across to the people who don't understand that they're being traitors by supporting the MAGA movement is that if you see one person whose First Amendment right isn't being respected, that means that nobody has the First Amendment right. If the system that exists to protect it is allowed to arbitrarily take it away from even one person, that is enough examples for us to say that we have a fucking emergency going on.
Correct.
And I am excited that we're seeing some semblance of justice. We have an ICE agent who's been arrested for something he did here in January, which is fine. It's good. What he did was bad, but I struggle very much with the fact that it's just a mountain of civil rights violations that have been allowed to slide, which is why I agree with you. I don't really think we do have the First Amendment right now.
I support what you just said as long as you put the emphasis on the right syllable. Because if you have the word justice and you put the emphasis on the wrong syllable, it turns into just ice, and then everything changes.
Just ice. Yeah. Oh, man. I thought they're called ice or nice now, aren't they? Indio, how old are you? You there, Indio? Indio's AFK, so I shall kick Indio. One of the mods added him. Yeah, well, I mean, and the emphasis thing is kind of a component of this whole, like, fascism playbook thing, where it's like, these people are literally excited about them rebranding ICE as nice, which is, like, just such a it's like Trump renaming the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. It's like, you think
it's a city in France. They don't like French people either, though.
Yeah, I mean, the semantic arguments aren't important. What's important is what's happening out in the real world. And if you're distracted by what's happening in the real world by a semantic argument or a name change, then it just shows the degree to which you're scrutinizing the things that you believe in, because that's just absolutely absurd.
Well, I love your platform. I appreciate the space, and I thank you.
All right. Thanks for hopping up. I'll let you go. I love a guest with a sense of humor. What time is it? We got 4 minutes. We'll see what somebody else wants to talk about. And it is Sunday. I'm not working tonight. Maybe we'll have a long show if we get a debate going. How old are you?
Hey, 36.
Friend or foe?
Not a Trump supporter.
Okay,
just wanted to jump on really quickly to articulate that I think it was Salvatore. He was arguing against the use of the word war and in favor of conflict. Please don't forget that this president is trying to change it to the Department of War. And Pete Hegseth routinely refers to our military as war fighters and is doing all this performative masculinity to make himself feel better. So always toss that one out.
Trump talked about the fact that some service members might die because that sometimes happens in war. It's nonsense. It's the cherry picking. He can say war 99 times, and if the 100th time he says, well, it's not really a war, it's a conflict. That's
technically
what
it's a conflict, everybody.
It means it's
Don't
a conflict.
Don't put your pennies in a twist.
It's a conflict, not a war. Anyway, I need to update my Trump impression. He's dying. He doesn't sound that good anymore.
He's rotting in front of our eyes. Hey, thanks, man. You can drop me down, and hopefully more MAGA will pop up. But I just wanted to get that in there. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate you. Oh, didn't mean to cut him off. I thought I grabbed the right moment, but I appreciate you so much. Thanks for hopping up. We are going to talk to Dylan. He says he has a good topic, and hey, maybe it'll be a long show, or maybe we're about to sign off. We shall see. How old are you?
27.
You a Trump supporter?
Yeah, I voted for Trump.
Do you support Trump?
I think that he's maybe the lesser of the two evils. I think that,
What was so evil about Kamala Harris? What was she going to do as president that was so bad?
Well, I think one of the main things why I voted for Trump and the topic that I want to talk about is immigration. And I think that Kamala was horrible on immigration.
Wait. I just want to be clear about something. The show's ending, which is fine. We can run long. I'm not going to kick you. But I just want to be clear about your perspective about like how you feel like this debate's going to go. Because you said in the chat that you have a really good topic to bring me. And I thought, oh, interesting. Maybe something novel. Yeah. Maybe Dylan is going to bring me something that's like neat that we haven't talked about 800 times on this show. Is the topic that you brought me immigration?
It's about ICE and immigration. I think that ICE does more.
If you could do something about the wind noise, I can hear you fine, but it is just bad for the show. I'm
just outside on my porch. I'll go inside here.
Appreciate that.
So yeah, I think that ICE does more good than harm.
Okay, so like I'm just gonna I'm not just trying to like be mean and clown on it, but like when you say that you have a good topic for me, I don't know if you don't watch a lot of lives, but I sit here and talk for like an hour a day about the fact that people think that ICE is doing a good job, and that my flag that says "fuck ICE" on it behind me says otherwise. So is there something specific about immigration and ICE that you're going to bring me, or are we just going to start the conversation at the top like I do with everybody else?
Yeah, no, I think that you can talk about whatever topics you think ICE is bad, and I would say that ICE overall does more good just inherently with the fact that immigration is the largest, one of the largest causes of human trafficking. There were 300,000 children that were unaccounted for alone just under the Biden administration. ICE found 3,000 children during the Minneapolis raids who were unaccounted for. And
most of the people who are found, by the way, it's not like they found a kid locked up in a cage in a basement somewhere. What's going on? Well, yeah, but mostly the people who are unaccounted for, who law enforcement find when they do these sorts of raids, are just people who have like run away from home. We're talking about like 17-year-olds who are living in trap houses, which is good to find those kids. But again, I think it's a mischaracterization of the problem, and to say that they're all like the victims of human trafficking. You need better evidence than that for what you're saying you have. And I know that you don't, because people bring that talking point to my show all the time, and I know there's no good evidence for it. Not to mention the fact that it's okay. What?
Go look at the Department of Homeland Security's website. Go look at Congress. They had you can look at congress.gov. There's a whole hearing about just the 300,000 missing children. We're not even talking about the Minneapolis. It's very hard to get data on children and everything that specifically happened to them. I know what you're going to say about, most of them were children who were out of courts or whatever, but let's talk specifically about the 300,000 children. You can look this up on DHS.gov. You can look at this up on Congress.gov from the hearings. And they talk about these 300,000 unaccounted for children means that children who at the border, they weren't verified.
Murray, one of my donors on YouTube Super Chat is saying what everybody else is saying in the chat, but I'll read his message because he paid for it. He says those 300K aren't missing. They're with their sponsors / guardians, and the checks are voluntary. Straight up, that number is not happening. So he's calling bullshit, and I believe him because the chat is lighting up with people saying the same thing.
And do you know what? Great, but you guys don't understand. And go look at the Congress hearing and go look at what all the people say who actually were boots on the ground.
Why is ICE a good solution if your problem is real? No, I'm going to let you talk when I ask my question, because you're just yelling about a point that I just said I don't find credible. So my question is this:
you even talk about it, but you're not even understanding.
You're talking about ICE.
Making.
Is it ICE's job to find missing children?
That is one of their jobs. Yes, is finding missing children.
Who is more qualified to find missing children? ICE officers who just got hired by a tyrant and were poorly trained, or literal detectives who work at normal law enforcement agencies? Who's more skilled?
Who's found more? The ICE agents. So they're more skilled and they're more qualified.
Are you suggesting that ICE agents have found more missing children in the last calendar year?
They found 300,000 in Minneapolis. How many children were found in Minneapolis?
Dude, you're making up. You're yelling because you don't like that I know that your numbers are bullshit.
You just keep trying to talk over me.
You just cut me off to ask my question. You need to demonstrate to me that ICE agents are doing a better job finding missing children than regular law enforcement. Because
I just did.
The main point is that ICE is violating people's constitutional liberties, which I would say is not even worth finding some missing children, even though that's a good cause. So
you don't care about children. You guys act like you care about immigrants and stuff and everything, but you don't care about American citizens or children who actually are immigrants.
I'm going to answer directly what you just said, because you just made a bad argument. I said I think that missing children is an important topic, but this isn't a good solution to it because the Constitution is violating. And then you said that because I said that, I must not care about missing children. So I will ask you this question. I think we can find some missing children, but I have to kill 10 million innocent people to do it. Do you think that's a good idea?
But they're not. You know how many people died in ICE?
No, stop. Answer the question.
I'm answering your fucking question. Okay.
Okay,
no,
hold
it's
on.
not a good way to do it, and that's not the reality.
Yeah,
the reality is 33
Stop yelling.
people
I'm going to talk over you. I'm not going to let you talk. You're not allowed to talk. It's my show. I'm going to guide the conversation because you're yelling and flailing, and it's not good listening. So I'm going to direct the conversation.
You won't let me talk.
We have not finished addressing the bad argument you made, and I need you to admit that it was a bad argument before we move on. Or if you don't admit that it was a bad argument, we can talk about it more. But just because I don't like a particular solution to a problem, that does not mean that I'm okay with the problem. That doesn't mean that I don't care about children if I think that a particular solution to missing children is bad. Do you recognize that what you just did when you accused me of not caring about missing children was a disingenuous bad argument?
I recognize if you're trying to put it the way you did about 10,000 people dying or whatever, but that's not the reality.
That was an example that demonstrates you're not understanding, so I'm just going to keep talking over you. I was giving an extreme example to demonstrate that just because you don't like a solution to a problem doesn't mean that you don't care about the problem. That is at core. You are making the leap to say that because I don't like this solution, I therefore must not care about the issue, and that's just not a good leap to make. It's not. I'm not interested in having a conversation with a person who doesn't admit that that's a bad argument.
So do missing children and exploited children and human trafficking, does that matter to you? Do you care about that?
I do care about that, as I stated before you accused me of not caring about that, because I don't think we should be violating people's constitutional liberties left and right to address the problem.
Okay. So then again, my argument is that ICE is doing more good than harm.
No, they're not.
They are. So
Diava.
No, they're not.
Can I make some points now?
I also need to.
So now you're going to bring in two people here to yell at me. Let me make my
shut
point.
your fucking mouth.
Diava is probably going to yell at you.
Bitch, shut up, Divana.
Aw, you don't even know how to read. It's not Divana. Anyway, you telling us to look up congress.gov and they are having hearings about this because it's such a big problem. It's fucking bullshit. It's Republicans that are doing these hearings. It's Republicans making the claim that it was all under the Biden administration. It was Republicans putting these stupid hearings together and nothing comes of them because it's all a fucking lie and you are spreading extremely harmful misinformation and rhetoric. And I think that you need to stop
he already got the harassment and bullying flag. He's gone.
Absolutely, positively fucking utter bullshit. It's House Republicans. When they say go to congress.gov, it's because they want you to go look at stupid Republican sites because they can put anything online that they want to because Congress does not have to tell the truth. And they can put out something on house.bobert.com or whatever, .gov, anything that they want. It doesn't mean that it's true.
Yeah, it's not. .gov is not actually credible, like in general, but especially right now. Like it's just not the best source for these things. There's certain things that only the government tracks, like labor statistics and stuff like that, where we kind of have to trust the government. But that just wasn't one of them. But if we're going to do the autopsy of the call, it was just another one of those calls where I was like, "Ooh, wait, you're talking really fast," and the first thing you said was bullshit, and then he just started yelling and talking even faster, and it's just like, nope, you're just not going to move on to accept that he said, I don't care about missing children. Like, what the hell?
He's literally, Donald Trump was the BFFs with the world's most prolific child trafficker. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to
he was gish galloping so fast. We didn't even get to the point where it's like, you care about the trafficking of children. What an interesting topic in a conversation about Donald Trump. My goodness.
Exactly. I was going to say, my God. His name is mentioned more times in the Epstein files than Jesus Christ in the Bible or Harry Potter in all 7 books. Don't give me this don't care about child trafficking bullshit.
Dylan is in the chat and he's very upset. Dude, you can try again another day. You are banned for the day because you got a flag and the show's going to wrap up in a moment here. But you can call again any other day and we can try to talk about it. But I am not going to move on in the conversation past something that I think is unreasonable. It's one of the things I do on this show is that we do not move on until we agree or we agree to disagree. And if we agree to disagree, that might mean that we still can't move on, because if we agree to disagree about how the Constitution works, then there's no point in having a conversation about whether or not we should impeach the president for violating the Constitution, because it's just we're not sitting on the same foundation. So we can talk in circles about the same issues forever if we disagree, if they are an impasse for what we're getting to. But no, dude, you can't just make bad arguments on my show. I just don't let it fucking slide.
And also, if you look into it, I mean, it's literally a simple Google search. Even the AI overview, not that that's reliable, but even the AI overview, just because I've had to look this up 3,000 times because they've been saying this bullshit for years. It's administrative errors. Not every they pass people off to guardians, off to other people, and it's simply a paperwork error. There's not actually 300,000 missing children. They're making it like they're missing, like kidnapped.
And if Dylan, if the lives of these children were actually important to you, if you actually had the values that you're saying that I don't, you would care about learning the facts. You would care about finding a reasonable solution to this. But you're in it for the fucking blood sport, dude. You're in it to listen to the Republicans and fucking own the libs. And that shows to me that you don't give a shit about fucking anything but being right. And you can try again. You can come in and try to prove me wrong, but I'm just not going to put up with it. Got anything else before I kick you, Diava? You want to give yourself a quick commercial? Oh, wait, no, before that, happy birthday. It was your birthday yesterday, wasn't it?
Thank you. It was the day before yesterday, but yeah, it was.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I found it after the fact, and I felt bad. I didn't have you up to say hi, but happy belated birthday.
Thank you so much. I did want to just say one thing, is that for especially Dylan going forward, sweetheart, don't use Republicans as your source. You can't use Republican congressmen, House members, or anything like that as your source. And as this administration keeps changing their websites, like they just scrubbed the White House of anything that has to do with the January 6th insurrectionists, and they've scrubbed all of that information off. The Department of Homeland Security has also been doing similar things. So unfortunately, this administration lies as much as they breathe. So if you're going to point to a current DHS website or a current whatever, no one's going to believe it. You're going to need to find a different source to come up with, because no one believes the bullshit that's coming out of this administration. So do better on your sources when you go to try to bring up, to prove your point. But anyway, if you guys want to come see me, I do my own lives. I am not as patient and I am not as nice as Oskar. So if you like a little bit more fire and ice, check me out. I go on every single day, 7 days a week from 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern. And I will be on at 4 p.m. Eastern today in about 3 hours.
I might hop on. I'm staying home today. Maybe I'll be in the chat for you today.
That would be really nice. Thanks.
Yeah, it's right in the middle of my editing block where I'm like trying to get my stuff posted for the day. So I don't always have time to hop over for you, but I should support more. But everybody go follow Diava, because if you get sick of me not chewing the head off the guest, there's a place for that, and it's the Diava Talks live stream. She will bite their head off and spit the blood right into the camera. It's great. If that's what you're into. But I mean, it's also fun. I do kind of like the tradition of being like, all right, I'm done cooking the guests. I'm going to send Diava after him. That's kind of why I had you up for that call, is because like, there's no talking to this guy. He's not gonna listen. But anyway, I'll kick you for the algorithm.
All right. Have a good day, Oskar. Good job. Thanks.
All right. I think that's the end of the show for the day. If you want to support what I'm doing, you can go to the link tree in my bio and follow me for free on the other platforms. Doesn't cost you a dime, and it helps me immensely. If you have a dime you want to spare, you can send it to my Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon. I think I got through the entire ad read without stuttering. I think that might be the first time I actually did it clean. Anyway, thanks everybody. Thanks to the mods. W in the chat for the mods. There's a bunch of people who work on this show, and it's a very, very big deal to me that I have quit my day job to do this instead. So Wednesday and Thursday this week, it'll be an afternoon show instead of the normal 10 to 12 Central Standard Time, just because I have this week and the week after, I have a couple shifts remaining at my job. And then once those shifts are over, I will get to speak freely to my audience about what my job was and all of that, which I have technically leaked to the public already. But I will speak more openly about it once I'm officially off the schedule, because it's a little bit relevant to what I'm doing here, this job that I quit. But we'll talk about that soon. We'll talk about that in about 10 days. And everybody on YouTube, thank you so much for supporting. Second day streaming, and we're already, get like 50, 60 people watching is great for an account that hasn't streamed before. I know that people over there were really waiting for the stream. And I think I'll learn all the technical stuff to get it started smoothly. But my workday's just starting. I got lots of editing to do. Got to get those clips up. Got to get the VOD up on YouTube. So I'm going to get to that. And I'm just going to say thanks to everybody again for letting my life be what it is right now, because I really like doing this. Makes me feel like I'm making a difference instead of just sitting at home doing nothing on the days where there's nothing for me to do outside. So stay tuned. More to come. Oh, and now I have 2 streams to stop. Let's see how quickly I can stop them. Goodbye, TikTok. Ugh. And then stop streaming. Goodbye, YouTube.